Okay, welcome. So today I'm going to go over this quiz with you. I just want to remind you, this is an averages quiz, so I want to remind you that averages are found by adding up whatever there is that we want to find the average of. We divide it by however many there are, and doing that gives us the average. Okay, so with that said, a quick little reminder, let's go ahead and do number 1. It says, what is the average of the following numbers? 6, 8, 10, 5, 4, 9. So here we're going to put it into our equation, or do our process, right? 6 plus 8 plus 10 plus 5 plus 4 plus 9. So let's group them up. 14, 15, 13. 29 plus 13. 2, carry the 1, 42. How many numbers are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to do 42 divided by 6 equals 7. And that's my answer. All right, let's do number 2. It says, what is the average of the following numbers? 7, 13, 11, 15, 14, 0. So there's 6 of them. 7 plus 13 plus 11 plus 15 plus 14 plus 0. We're going to divide that out by 6. So 7 plus 13 is 20. 11 plus 15 is 26 plus 14. Because 14 plus 0 is 14. We're still dividing this by 6. So I'm going to do it like this real quick. So it's just easier to add up. 6 plus 4 is 10, carry the 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 plus 1 is 6. So I'm going to do 60 divided by 6, and that gives me 10. And that's number 2. So these are pretty straightforward. When it just asks you to find the average, it's pretty easy to do. Okay? Number 3, it says, what is the average of the following numbers? 22, 27, 20, 21. So 22, 27, 20, 21. Just going to add them up like this. And whatever I get there, I'm going to divide by 4 because there's 4 numbers. So 2 plus 7 is 9, plus 1 is 10, so 0, carry the 1. 3, 5, 7, 9, 90. So now I'm going to do 90 divided by 4. 4 goes into 9 2 times. 4 times 2 is 8. 9 minus 8 is 1. Bring down the 0. 4 goes into 10 2 times. 4 times 2 is 8. 10 minus 8 is 2. I have something left over, so I'm going to add a decimal, add a 0 to bring down. 4 goes into 20 5 times. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 minus 20 is 0. So 22.5. Okay, awesome. Like I said, these that we just find the average are pretty straightforward. Let's look at the next one. So this one looks more like a word problem, right? It says, Penny scored 95, 90, 67, and 88 on 4 of her exams in her mathematics class. What is your average score on the 4 exams? So once again, we're just finding the average. We just have to add stuff up. 95, 90, 67, 88. 95, 90, 67, 88. So 5 plus 7, 12. 12 plus 8, 20. Carry the 2. 2 plus 9, 11. 9 plus 6, 15. 11 plus 15, 26. 26 plus 8, 34. Okay, now that I've done that, I'm going to divide by 4 because that's how many tests there are. So 4 goes into 34 8 times. 4 times 8 is 32. 34 minus 32 is 2. We bring down the 0. 4 goes into 20 5 times. 4 times 5 is 20. And 20 minus 20 is 0. So my average is 85. Okay, awesome. Let's look at number 5. It says, Kritia scored 56, 67, 69, 80, and 82 on 5 of her history quizzes. If she can drop the lowest score, okay, so we're getting rid of one. What will her average score be? Her lowest score is 56. Okay, so now we're going to get the average of these, 1, 2, 3, and there's 4 of them. So when we add them up, we're going to divide by 4 and not 5. Super important. So 67, 69, 80, 82. 7 plus 9 is 16. Plus 2, 18, carry the 1. 1 plus 6 is 7. 7 plus 6 is 13. 8 plus 8 is 16. And 13 plus 16 is 29. So we get 298. And now we're going to divide this by 4. 4 goes into 29 7 times. 4 times 7 is 28. 29 minus 28 is 1. We bring down the 8. 4 goes into 18 4 times. 4 times 4 is 16. 18 minus 16 is 2. We have left over, so I'm going to add a decimal, and I'm going to add a 0 here to bring down. 4 goes into 20 5 times. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 minus 20 is 0. We have no more numbers to bring down, so our answer is 74.5. Awesome. So this one, again, it's pretty straightforward because we're just finding the average. We're just adding stuff up and dividing by however many numbers there are. We just have to get rid of one of them, okay? All right, next one, number 6. It says, Karen drove from Florida to Georgia last Thursday. She drove at a speed of 34 miles per hour for the first 3 hours, 60 miles per hour for the next 3 hours, and 74 miles per hour for the last 3 hours. What was her average speed? Because they're all 3 hours, 3 hours, 3 hours, we can just add these up normal. 34, 60, 74. Okay? But I'm going to show you the long way of doing this because I want to make sure that you know what to do if it's not the same scenario. So here, for each hour, we have to record the speed. 34, 34, 34, 60, 60, 60, 74, 74, 74. Now, something that's easier than adding all of these up, we would add these up and then divide it by 9 because it's 9 hours total. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 34 times 3. 3 times 4 is 12, carry the 1. 3 times 3 is 9 plus 1 is 102. 60 times 3, 0, 18, 180. And 74 times 3. 3 times 4 is 12, carry the 1. 3 times 7 is 21 plus 1 is 22. So now I'm going to do 102 plus 180 plus 222. 4, 10, carry the 1. 1, 2, 3, 5. So now this, I'm going to divide by 9. Okay? So 504 divided by 9. 9 goes into 50. If 9 times 6 is 54, then we're going to do 9 times 5 is 45. 50 minus 45 is 5. Brings down the 4. 9 goes into 54 6 times. 9 times 6 is 54. Sorry, 54. 54 minus 54 is 0. So my answer is 56 miles per hour. Okay? I hope you got that. This one was a little more challenging. But we have to pay attention when it says that there's more than one of them. So there's more than 1 hour that's spent at that speed. Okay? Next question says, Abigail scored 66, 77, 89, 80, and 62 on 5 of her Spanish quizzes. If she can drop the lowest score, what will her average be? So what's her lowest score? It's a 62. So we're going to add these 4. 66, 77, 89, 80. 6 plus 7 is 13. 13 plus 9 is 22. Carry the 2. 2 plus 6 is 8. 8 plus 7 is 15. 8 plus 8 is 16. 15 plus 16 is 31. So now 312 divided by 4. 4 goes into 31 7 times. 4 times 7 is 28. And 31 minus 28 is 3. So now I'm going to bring down the 2. 4 goes into 32 8 times. 4 times 8 is 32. 32 minus 32 is 0. There's nothing else to bring down, so the average is 78. Okay, I hope you're getting this. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. So now let's do number 8. It says, Cassandra worked an average of 7 hours a day last week. If she worked 5 hours on Monday, 9 hours on Tuesday, 6 hours on Wednesday, and 10 hours on Thursday, how many hours did she work on Friday? So this is where knowing our averages equation comes in handy. Remember that our averages equation is us adding up everything, dividing it by however many there are, and then that gives us our average. So here, it tells us the average. It tells us that the average was 7, and then it gives us everything to add up. 5 hours on Monday, 9 hours on Tuesday, 6 hours on Wednesday, 10 hours on Thursday, but we don't know the number of hours on Friday. So we're going to call it X. And that's what we're looking for, right? But we do know that it's going to be divided by 5 because it's 5 in total. And we do know that the average is 7. So now that we know that, we can multiply by 5 and solve for the X. So why are we going to multiply by 5? Because this whole thing here is a fraction and it's being divided by 5. So to reverse it, we do the opposite. So now this is 35 is equal to 5 plus 9 plus 6 plus 10 plus X. Okay? So 5 plus 9 is 14. Plus 6 is 20. Plus 10 is 30. So 35 equals 30 plus X. Now remember, to get the X by itself, I'm going to do the opposite. So minus 30, because this is added to the X, minus 30. 35 minus 30 is 5. 30 minus 30 is 0. And then X. X equals 5 hours. So she worked 5 hours on Friday. Okay? Let's move on to number 9. Number 9 says, Annie scored 96, 97, 89, 70, and 82 on 5 of her algebra quizzes. If she can drop the lowest score, what will her average quiz score be? Which is her lowest score? 70. Okay? So we have to add up the rest of them. 96, 97, 89, 82. Now we're going to divide all this by 4. So 6 plus 7 is 13. 9 plus 2 is 11. 13 plus 11, 24. So I'm going to carry the 2. 8 plus 8 is 16. 9 plus 9 is 18. Plus 2 is actually 20. So let's do that. 20 plus 16, 36. So 364. And now we're going to divide this by 4, right? So 4, 364. 4 goes into 36 9 times. 4 times 9 is 36. 36 minus 36 is 0. I bring down my 4. 4 goes into 4 1 time. 4 times 1 is 4. And 4 minus 4 is 0. There's nothing else to bring down. My answer is 91. Pretty easy. Okay, number 10. So it says, Alice scored 75, 72, and 66 on 3 of her exams in her mathematics class. What is her average score on the 3 exams? Okay, easy. We're going to add them up. 75, 72, 66. Okay, 5 plus 2, 7 plus 6, 13. 13, carry the 1. 1 plus 7 is 8. 8 plus 7 is 15. 15 plus 6, 21. So now we're going to do 213 divided by 3. So 3 goes into 21 7 times. 3 times 7 is 21. 21 minus 21 is 0. I'm going to bring down the 3. 3 goes into 3 1 time. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. So my answer is 71. Number 11. It says, Brandon drove from Ohio to New York last week. He drove at a speed of 76 miles per hour for the first 2 hours, 72 for the next 2 hours, and then 83 miles per hour for the last 2 hours. What was his average speed during the trip? So if you recall, this one is like the other one, 76, 76, 72, 72, 83, 83. So it's going to be 6 in total. So this is smaller. I think we can do this. 6 plus 6 is 12, 2 plus 2 is 4, 3 plus 3 is 6. This is 10. So 12 plus 10, 22. So I'm going to put a 2, carry a 2. Here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 sevens. What's 7 times 4? 28. 2 8 is 16. So 28 plus 2 is 30. Plus 16 is 46. Okay? So the reason I do that is because I like to group together the smaller numbers so that I don't have to do so much like with big numbers in my head. So if I can group together numbers, then it's easier to add them up. Okay? So how many hours does this happen for? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours in total. So I'm going to do 462 divided by 6. So 6 goes into 46 7 times. 6 times 7 is 42. 46 minus 42 is 4. And bring down the 2. 6 goes into 42 7 times. 6 times 7 is 42. And 42 minus 42 is 0. So the answer is 77. Okay, looks good. I hope you got that. Now, in these, because Brandon drove the same amount of hours for all of them, if you added 76, 72, and 83, and then you divided by 3, it would give you the same answer. But sometimes you'll get questions that'll be like, he drove 76 miles per hour for the first hour, then 72 for the next 2 hours. So they're not even. If they're not an even amount of hours, you have to just kind of like add them all up per hour. All right, number 12, it says, Jill worked an average of 8 hours a day last week. If she worked 6 hours on Monday, 10 hours on Tuesday, 4 hours on Wednesday, and 10 hours on Thursday, how many hours does she work on Friday? So this is just like our last question, if you remember, where we had to like plug it into our averages equation, right? And we had to kind of do one of the days as an x because we weren't sure how much that day was going to be. So let's set up our equation. The average is 8 hours, right? So 6 hours on Monday, 10 hours on Tuesday, 4 hours on Wednesday, 10 hours on Thursday. We don't know how many on Friday. We're going to divide this by 5 because there's 5 days that she worked, and that's going to equal 8. So now to solve, we have to do the opposite. Remember, this is divided by 5, so we're going to multiply by 5 to cancel this out. And whenever I do to one side of the equal sign, I have to do to the other. So this cancels out. 5 times 8 is 40, is equal to 6 plus 10 plus 4 plus 10 plus x. So let's add these up. 6 plus 10 is 16. 4 plus 10 is 14. 16 plus 14 is 30. So 40 equals 30 plus x. So I'm going to minus 30, and x equals 10 hours. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's move on to number 15. So it says, Helen scored 56, 97, 88, and 70 on 4 of her science quizzes. If the teacher allows her to retake the quiz with the lowest score, this is a retake, which means not only does she get rid of it, but she replaces it with a new score. Okay, what must Helen score on her retake in order to have an average of 80 in her science class? So this is going to be kind of like the last question we did. We're going to have 97 plus 88 plus 70, and then that retake is going to be x, because we're going to replace the 56 with something unknown. We're going to divide the whole thing by 4, and what does her average score, or what does she want her average score to be? 80. So that's what we're going to call this. Okay, so we do the same process. We multiply by 4 to get rid of this division problem. Whenever I do on one side of the equal sign, I have to do to the other. So I multiply. 4 times 80, I'm going to show you here, but it's pretty easy. 0, 4 times 8 is 32, so 320 is equal to 97 plus 88 plus 70 plus x. So let's start adding these three up. 97, 88, 70. 7 plus 8 is 15, carry the 1. 1 plus 9 is 10, and 8 plus 7 is 15. 10 plus 15 is 25. Okay, so looking good so far. So this is 320 equals 255 plus x. So we're going to do minus 255, minus 255. I'm going to borrow. 10 minus 5 is 5. I have to borrow again. 11 minus 5 is 6, and 2 minus 2 is 0. So 65 is x. And there we are. Okay, so it starts building up on itself, right? So first we got rid of one, and then we had an extra we didn't know about, and now we're talking about replacements. So it just keeps adding up and building on. Okay, number 14 says, Chris scored 76, 88, and 70 on the last 3 exams in geography class. If the teacher allows him to retake the quiz with the lowest score, what must Chris score on his retake in order to have an average of 85 in his geography class? So for this one, I'm going to encourage you to hit pause and give it a try, just because this is really similar to the last one. So I want you to give it a try on your own before watching my explanation. When you're ready, I'll go ahead and explain how to do it now. So here we're going to, once again, add it up. 76 plus 88 plus 70. Wait a second, he retakes it. So that means we're replacing the 70 with x, okay? Because 70 is his lowest score, and he gets to replace that with another score, and we don't know what that score is yet. Then we divide that by 3, and he wants to get an average of 85. So we're going to put equals 85. I want to get rid of this division problem, so I'm going to multiply by 3 to cancel it out. 76 plus 88 plus x is equal to, what's 85 times 3? Let's find out. 3 times 5 is 15. Carry the 1. 3 times 8 is 24 plus 1 is 25. So 255. Now let's add these two together. 76 plus 88. 6 plus 8 is 14. Carry the 1. 1 plus 7 is 8. 8 plus 8 is 16. So we have 164 plus x is equal to 255. I'm going to subtract by 164 on both sides because this is added to the x, and we want to get the x by itself, so we do the opposite. And whenever we do to one side of the equal sign, we have to do to the other. So 5 minus 4 is 1. We can't do 5 minus 6, so we borrow, and this becomes 15 minus 6 is 9. So our answer is 91. Okay, I hope you got that. When you're ready, let's move on to number 15. It says, in a store, 4 clerks are paid $240 a week, and 2 clerks are paid $480 per week. What is the average salary paid to all 6 clerks? Remember when I told you about those speeds earlier? Here, we don't have an even number of people getting paid the same thing. So we have to do 240 4 times. And we have to do 480 2 times. So to make this easier, I'm just going to do 240 times 4. That gives me, this is 240. That gives me 0, 16, carry the 1. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 960. And 480 times 2, 0, 6, carry the 1. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1, 960. So 960 plus 960, 0, 2, carry the 1, 19. And now I'm going to divide this by 6 because that's how many people there are. So 1920 divided by 6. 6 goes into 19 3 times. 6 times 3, 18. 19 minus 18, 1. Bring down the 2. 6 goes into 12 2 times. 6 times 2 is 12. 12 minus 12 is 0, but I still have to bring down the 0. 6 goes into 0 0 times. 6 times 0 is 0. Nothing else to bring down. So my answer is $320. I hope you got that. Good luck. If you have any questions, remember to leave a comment below, and I'll be more than happy to help you with it. Hi, this is Natalia again from ASVAB Success. In this video, I want to talk to you about word problems that have fractions in them. So we're going to talk about some questions that will come up on the arithmetic reasoning section and also the mathematics knowledge section. I know you've done a lot of stuff with fractions already, but here I want us to go a little bit deeper on some of the newer questions they're asking on the PyCant and the ASVAB. So if you're ready, let's get started. So I want to start us off with reciprocals. What is a reciprocal? A reciprocal is a flipped fraction. So whenever we see this word reciprocal, and you probably will see it on the PyCant or ASVAB, what it's asking you to do is flip the fraction over. So this fraction here, 2/5 is easy to flip over. This becomes 5 over 2. Now that we have flipped it, it has become an improper fraction. And what do we do with improper fractions? We turn them into mixed numbers. And we do that by dividing. So this becomes 5 divided by 2. I don't have a lot of space there, so I'm going to do this below so it's a little bit easier to see it, all right? So 5 divided by 2. So then I do 2 goes into 5 2 times. This becomes my whole number, okay? 2 times 2 is 4. 5 minus 4 is 1. This is my remainder. That becomes my new numerator. And my denominator stays the same. So my answer here is 2.5. So in reality, 2/5 as a reciprocal is 2.5. Okay, so the reciprocal isn't always going to look exactly like the original fraction because it could be converted. All right, let's look at another example. Here, it's asking us the reciprocal of a mixed number. I know it looks a little funky, but this here represents 2 and 1/5. So if you see those in the quiz below, now you know what they mean. All right, so 2 and 1/5. Now, how do I do the reciprocal of a mixed number? I first need to convert it to an improper fraction, and then I can flip it. Okay, so I convert 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11 over 5. Now that it's an improper fraction, I can flip it, and it becomes 5 over 11. This is a regular fraction. I do not need to convert it into a mixed number, and it does not need to be simplified, so this is my final answer, 5 over 11. Okay, awesome. If you have any questions, remember, leave a comment below, but this is it for these kinds of questions. And like I said, these questions are really coming up on the PyCat right now. They're usually found in the, not the arithmetic, sorry, in the mathematics knowledge section, all right? So let's keep on, let's look at some other questions. Another very common question on the PyCat or the ASVAB is asking for the largest or the smallest fraction. Here, this question is asking which is the largest fraction, right? We have 2/7, 1/2, and 3/5. What we want to do is we want to compare them to each other, almost like a tournament, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to multiply by the denominator of each. So 2, 2, 7, 7. This gives us 4 over 14, 7 over 14. Now that they have the same denominator, now we can see which fraction is actually bigger. And it looks like this fraction is bigger. How do I know that? Because the numerator is bigger. So when we want to see if a fraction is bigger or smaller, what we have to do is give them the same denominator, and we look to see which numerator is bigger or smaller, right? That's what we did here. So this tells us that 1/2 is bigger. Now, this is not necessarily the answer to the question, because there's still another one. But we know we can eliminate 2/7 because it's smaller than 1/2. So now the next tournament is going to be 1/2 versus 3/5. So 1/2 versus 3/5. I multiply this side by 5. I multiply this side by 2. I get 5 over 10 versus 6 over 10. Looks like 6 over 10 wins. So 3/5 is the largest fraction. And there you go. So when we're asked a question that says something like which is the largest fraction, which is the smallest fraction, what we want to do is we want to compare one at a time and give them the same denominator. All right? Okay. I want to go over another example of a question with you. So like I said, we're looking at different questions that can be found on the ASVAB that have fractions in them. So we're just going to do a lot of random things, but they all have to do with fractions somehow. And it's just to expose you to these different kinds of questions. And that way you're ready for them when they come along. So this question says, this is a word problem, which means we'll find it in arithmetic reasoning. All right? If Sean and Teresa sold a house for $350,000 and Sean got $210,000, what fraction did Teresa receive? All right. So here, we want to know the fraction that Teresa got, the fraction out of the total amount. So we're going to put whatever Teresa got over the total. That is our plan here, okay? Because a fraction is a part out of a whole. So we already know the total. It's going to be $350,000, right? But we do not know what Teresa got. So we're going to subtract. That's all we have to do. If we know how much Sean got, let's find out how much is left over. And that's what Teresa got. So we subtract 0, 0, 0, 0. 5 minus 1, 4. 3 minus 2, 1. So Teresa got $140,000. So now we put that up here. Okay, this is not a cross multiplication situation. This is just one thing over the other. What we want to do next is we want to simplify this fraction. So we're going to eliminate zeros because there's a lot of zeros here. So let's eliminate all the zeros they have in common, top and bottom, one at a time. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. Okay, we're done. That leaves us with 14 over 35. And when I look at this, I say, well, I can divide by 7, top and bottom, to simplify this. And when I divide by 7, 14 divided by 7 gives me 2. 35 divided by 7 gives me 5. So my answer here is 2 over 5. So in this question, once again, just to make sure we understand, this asks for a fraction. We try to understand what the fraction is of. Okay, a part to the whole. What part? Teresa's part. So Teresa over the total. Then we find each of those numbers, we put them in the correct position on the fraction, and we simplify. That's all we have to do. Okay? I hope that makes sense. If you're ready, let's move on to another example. In our next example, what we have is fractions within our word problem. Okay? So let's take a look at what this says. It says, a store has an inventory of 300 blankets. 1/3 of the blankets are blue, and 2/5 of the remaining blankets are white. And the rest of them are assorted colors. What percent of the blankets are white? So this is mixing fractions and percents. So this is going to be a fun question. We're looking for the white. And we know that white makes up 2/5 of the total, not even of the total, sorry, of the remaining blankets. Remaining means what's left over. And that is following 1/3 of the blue. So first thing we have to do, there's a lot of steps here, so stay with me. First thing we have to do is figure out how much is left over once we take out the blue. Okay? What's left over becomes the remaining. From the remaining, we can then take 2/5 and find out how many white blankets there are. All right, that's our first step. So how do we find 1/3 of 300? Simple, we just multiply. 300 times 1/3. We can put 300 over 1, and we multiply straight across. 300 times 1 is 300. 1 times 3 is 3. 300 divided by 3 is 100. So this is the number of blue blankets. We want to know what's left over. Well, 300 minus 100, there's 200 blankets left over, or remaining. Okay? Then we want to know 2/5 of the remaining blankets. So how do we find a fraction of something? We multiply. 200 times 2/5. Put this over 1. 200 times 2 is 400 over 5. 400 divided by 5 gives me 80. Okay, this is the number of white blankets. How do I find that? I just do 400 divided by 5. 5 goes into 48 times. 5 goes into 0 times. That's how I get the 80. Okay, now that I have the number of white blankets, now I can find the percent. Remember, equation for percent is part over whole equals percent over 100. Here, the part is white, so it's 80. The whole is all of the blankets, which is 300. Okay, and we're looking for the percent over 100. We cross multiply. 300 times x is 300x. 80 times 100 is 8,000. I'm going to divide by 300. This cancels out. I get the x by itself. I can eliminate some zeros on the top and bottom, and I'm left with 80 divided by 3. So this is not going to be an even number. It's going to give us a funky number, but we're going to follow through, right? We're going to keep going. 3 goes into 8 2 times. Brings down the 0. 3 goes into 20 6 times. If you notice, when we add a 0 and a decimal, it's going to keep repeating. It's going to be 26.6666666. Like, it's going to keep repeating forever. So we're going to stop here and say 26.6%. And that's it. So just to go over the steps one more time to make sure I didn't lose you guys. We have, the first step was figuring out how many white blankets there are. And I know that there's 2/5. It's 2/5 of what remains after we take out the blue. So we took out the blue, and then we find out what 2/5 of that is. Once we have the number of white blankets, we can plug it into our percent formula. And that's how we got our percentage. Okay? So I know these questions are challenging, but that's why I'm giving them to you, because I want to challenge you, and I want you to be ready for the ASVAB. So you have a couple of questions below to help you practice in the quiz. And if you have any questions about anything you've seen in this video today, just leave a comment below and let me know, and I'll be more than happy to help you. Hi, this is Natalia from ASVAB Success, and in this video, I want to review with you the quiz questions from the fraction word problems quiz, okay? So with this quiz, there's 10 questions. Let's just jump in, actually. It says Deborah and Ian shared in $1 million estate. If Ian received $125,000 and Deborah received the rest, what fraction of the estate did Deborah receive? So we're looking for the fraction that Deborah received, and it's giving us what Ian received. So the first thing we need to do is we need to find out how much Deborah received. So we do 1 million, 1, 2, 3, minus 125,000, 0, 0, 0. Okay, so here, this one becomes 10, so that this one can become 10. So then this one can be 10. So 10 minus 5 is 5, 9 minus 2 is 7, and 9 minus 1 is 8. Okay, so Deborah received 875,000. So it's asking for the fraction that she received. We put 875,000 over 1 million. 1, 2, 3. We can eliminate the 3 zeros at the end, and we're left with 875 over 1,000. And now, what we need to do is we need to simplify this. So the easiest thing I can think of is dividing by 25. Okay, so 875 divided by 25. 25 times 3 is 75. I'm thinking of quarters. 7 minus 5 is 2. 8 minus 7 is 1. I bring down the 5. 25 goes into 125 5 times. And I get 35 on the top. Now I'm going to do 1,000 divided by 25. 25 can't go into 10, so I'm going to do 100. That's 4. I bring down the 0. 25 goes into 0 times. So here we get 40. 35 over 40. So I did by 25 because it makes my numbers much, much smaller. Okay? So now 35 over 40, I'm going to rewrite it down here so I have space. I'm going to simplify again, but this time by 5. 35 divided by 5 gives me 7, and 40 divided by 5 gives me 8. This is the simplest form, so now I have 7 over 8. Okay? I hope that makes sense. I think the hardest thing here is actually simplifying. Alright, next question. So this says, what is the product of the reciprocals 2 over 3, 1 over 8, and 5? First of all, product means we multiply. It's asking us to multiply this stuff together. And the reciprocal means we flip it. So 2 over 3 times 1 over 8 times 5. Remember whole number, when we multiply it to a fraction, we put it over 1. But now, what we want to do is to get the reciprocals, because it's not asking us to multiply this, but the flip of this. So we flip each one. So this is 3 over 2, 8 over 1, 1 over 5. Okay, so I can just multiply straight across. 3 times 8, 24. 24 times 1 is just 24. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 5 is 10. So we get 24 over 10. This we can divide by 2 to simplify. We get 12 over 5. And now what we're going to do is we're going to convert that to a mixed number. So 12 divided by 5. 5 goes into 12 2 times. That is my whole number. That gives me 10, and I get a remainder of 2, which is my numerator, and my denominator stays the same. So 2 and 2 over 5. And there we go. Okay, perfect. I hope this is making sense. Remember, you can always go back and look at the explanations again. Okay, with this one, number 3, it says the reciprocal of 3 and 1/5 is. So 3 and 1/5. Remember, the reciprocal is when we flip it, right? We flip a fraction. But we can't flip this fraction because this fraction is an actual, mixed number. So what we want to do is we turn it into an improper fraction. We do that by doing 5 times 3 is 15. 15 plus 1 is 16. That gives us the new numerator, and the denominator stays the same. Now we have a regular fraction, and what we can actually do is flip it. So we flip this one, and we get 5 over 16. We can't simplify this anymore, so we leave it just like that. 5 over 16, C is our answer. Okay? All right, let's keep going. Number 4, it says, an animal park has lions and tigers and zebras. 2/5 of the animals are lions, and 3/10 are zebras. What percentage are tigers? So this question is great because it mixes fractions and percent. So first things first, we want to figure out what fraction are actually tigers, okay? So, well, first we need to find out what's left over. So we have 2/5 lions plus 3/10 zebra. And then we're going to have something else that's tigers, but we don't know it yet. So to add these together, I multiply this by 2. I get 4 over 10 plus 3 over 10. This gives me 7 over 10. Now 7 over 10 plus tigers gives me all of them 1. Why is all of them 1? Because fractions make up a piece, right? These are each slices of a pie, so to speak. So the whole thing is 1. And that's why we say it's over 1. Well, to solve this, we do 1 minus 7 over 10 will give me tigers. We have to give them the same denominators. This is 1 over 1. So I'm going to multiply this by 10, top and bottom. This becomes 10 over 10 minus 7 over 10. And 10 minus 7 gives me 3. So this is the number of tigers. But the question is asking me for the percent of tigers. So when I do percent, this is what I'm looking for. I know this goes over 100. And I know that it's 3 out of 10. What I do is I put my fraction there in the first one. And now I solve. 10 times x is 10x. 3 times 100 is 300. I divide by 10, and I can eliminate a 0, which gives me 30 over 1, which is just 30%. And our answer here is C. Okay, I hope this is making sense. This one was a little bit different, so if you want to take your time and look at the question again, you're more than welcome to. If you're ready, let's keep going. So this is a similar question to the last one. If you want to practice what you learned in the last question, this is a good time to pause and try it on your own. But if you're ready, let's go ahead and review it. So this question says, a shop sells 200 chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry ice creams in a day. 42 of the ice creams sold are vanilla, and 1/4 are strawberry. What percent of the ice cream sold is chocolate? Okay, so here, it gives me the number of vanilla and a fraction of strawberry. What we can do, instead of turning this into a fraction, it's actually easier to turn this to a number. So we're going to do 200 times 1/4 to find out what the number is of strawberry. So I put this 200 over 1, so it's easier to multiply. 200 times 1 is 200, 1 times 4 is 4, and 200 divided by 4 gives me 50. You can do this to solve that, okay? But eventually you'll get 50. So now we have 42 plus 50. This is vanilla, this is strawberry. That gives us 92 ice creams. Now, it's asking us for the percent of chocolate. Well, first let's find out the number of chocolate. How much more do we need to get to 200? That's going to be the number of chocolate. So 200 minus 92, that gives us 108. What we do here is we borrow, and it gives us 108, okay? So now, the percent of chocolate, we get 108 out of 200, which is the total number of chocolates. We don't know the percent, and this is 100. 200 times x is 200x. 108 times 100 is 10,800. And I'm going to divide by 200 on both sides. I can eliminate 2 zeros top and bottom. I'm left with 108 over 2. And when I do 108 divided by 2, I get 54. You can go ahead and work that out, but eventually you will get 54. So my answer here is 54%. Okay? I hope this is making sense. This one was a little bit different because we got to use regular numbers instead of the fractions, but it's still the same concept. Okay? And remember, this is not your only resource. If you have questions about any of these, you can always go into the Zoom class and ask us, and we'll be more than happy to review it with you in all the detail you want. Okay, this next question says, what is a reciprocal of 5 and 2/7? So this is just like one of the questions we did earlier. If you want to pause here and give it a try, you're more than welcome to. And if you're ready, let's go ahead and review it together. So remember, reciprocal means we flip the fraction, but we can't flip a mixed number. So we have to turn it into an improper fraction first. We multiply 35 plus 2, 37 over 7. And now that we have 37 over 7, we can flip it, and our answer is 7 over 37. And that's it. That's an easy one. I hope you got it. Let's go ahead and do the next one. So this one says, which is the largest fraction? So with these fractions, what we want to do is we want to do kind of like a tournament. That's what I like to do. So I'm looking for the largest one. We start with these two first. 1/2 versus 3/8. An easy way to do this is to do 8 times 1 is 8. 2 times 3 is 6. That tells me that this one is bigger. If this is confusing to you, another way of doing this is giving them the same denominator. So if I multiply this side by 4, I get 4 over 8 versus 3 over 8. So 1/2 is bigger. So 1/2 gets to move on to the next round. I'm going to put it over here on this side so I don't forget it. Then I'm going to do 5/12 versus 2/5. Okay, so this one, it can't be like easily made into the same denominator. So I'm just going to multiply them by each other. This gives me 25 over 60 versus 24 over 60. So the winner here is 5 over 12. Okay, because the denominator is the biggest. So now our final one that moves on to the next round, our final round is 1/2 versus 5 over 12. So I can multiply this side by 6, and 6 times 2 gives me 12. So this gives me 6 over 12 versus 5 over 12. And 6 over 12 wins, which means 1/2 is the largest number. Okay, and that's it. It's just a matter of doing a tournament. You give them the same denominator, and it just works. Okay, if you're ready, let's go ahead and move on to the next question. Number 8. Number 8 says, Jenna and Stephen shared a $1.5 million estate. If Stephen received $600,000, what fraction of the estate did Jenna receive? So this question is similar to the first question we did. If you want to give this a try and just hit pause, you're more than welcome to. All right, if you're ready, let's go ahead and review it. So we're going to subtract here. 1.5 million to 3 minus 600,000. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and 15 minus 6 is 9. So Jenna received 900,000. And we want to set this up 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and we want to find the fraction. So we can eliminate as many zeros as we have in common. So this one's great because this one simplifies all the way down to 9 over 15. So we don't have to divide anything ginormous. This is very good. So I'm going to rewrite that down here, and we're going to go ahead and simplify by 3 top and bottom. 9 divided by 3 is 3, 15 divided by 3 is 5. So here my answer is 3 over 5, or 3/5. Okay, I hope this is making sense. If you're ready, let's move on to number 9. Here it says, what is the sum of the reciprocals of 4 and 25? So sum means we are adding, okay? And here is the reciprocals of these. So this is 4 over 1 plus 2 over 5. Remember, when we're working with fractions and we have a whole number, we can just put that whole number over 1, and it makes it easier to work with. But we're going to do the reciprocals now, so we're going to flip each one. Remember, we flip it before we do anything with it. So this becomes 1 over 4 plus 5 over 2. So the 1 came to the top, the 4 came to the bottom, the 5 came to the top, and the 2 went to the bottom. So now I'm going to multiply so I can add. I multiply this side by 2, so I have the same denominator. It gives me 10 over 4. 1 plus 10 is 11, and my denominator stays the same. And now I want to turn this into a mixed number. 11 divided by 4. 4 goes into 11 2 times, that's my whole number. I get a remainder of 3, and that is my numerator. So my answer here is 2 3/4. Okay? We're doing great on time here. Last but not least is number 10. So this is similar to the question we did earlier, except this one is asking for the smallest value. So we're doing a tournament, but we're looking for the smaller number. So let's start with these two, 5 over 17 versus 2 over 9. So in the first one, I don't know if you remember, I told you you can multiply across. 45 versus 17 times 2, 34. What we're doing here is we're doing multiplication like if we would have done 17 and 17 on this side, but instead of doing the denominators, we're just doing the numerator, and 9 and 9 on this side. So it's 45 versus 34. This is a smaller number. So 2 over 9, I'm going to put it up here because that's going to move on to the next round. 3 over 8 versus 1 over 3. I'm going to multiply across. 3 times 3 is 9, 8 times 1 is 8. So 1 over 3 is a smaller number. So these are going to move on to the next round. 2 over 9 versus 1 over 3. So we go 9 and 6, which means 2 over 9 is our smaller number. And that's it. That's our final answer. Okay, I hope that made sense. Remember, if you ever have any questions at any point, you can leave a comment below. And also I encourage you to come into our Zoom class. If this is still not making sense, you can come in and ask on Zoom, and we'll be more than happy to review it in more detail. All right, keep up the great work. Okay, so this is a simple interest quiz to help you do better and make sure, 15 questions is not enough, so you need more. So I'm going to go over this quiz with you. Let me know if you have any questions. Always feel free to pause, try the question again, watch the video, maybe watch it again and again. And if you have questions, leave a comment below, okay? So let's start with number 1. It says, Jamie wants to save up for his first car. If he deposits $1,000 in a savings account that earns 3.5% simple interest, how many years does he have to leave the money in the account so he earns $875 in interest? So this question gives us deposits, which is principal, 3.5% simple interest, which is rate, and it asks us how many years, so we're looking for time, and it tells us he wants to earn $875 in interest, so that's my interest. So this one's pretty straightforward. Let's convert this rate into a decimal. So we're going to divide by 100. I'm going to go 1, 2, fill in that space with a 0, and this becomes 0.035. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and plug everything in. So remember, the equation is interest equals principal times rate times time. So interest is $875, principal is $1,000, rate is 0.035, and we don't know time, so we're going to leave it like that. So let's multiply this here. 1,000 times 0.035. 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 1 is 5. Placeholder 0. 3 times 0 is 0, 3 times 0 is 0, 3 times 0 is 0, and 3 times 1 is 3. So I'm going to add it up. In my question, there's 3 numbers behind the decimal point. So in my answer, there will also be 3 numbers behind the decimal point. So this is 875 equals 35 times t. Once we put these numbers, these zeros behind the decimal point, we don't have to use them anymore. Okay? If this was like a 1 or a 2 or whatever, that's different. But because they're all zeros, we can get rid of them. So now I'm going to divide each side by 35. And I'm going to set up my division problem. So 35 goes into 87 2 times. 35 times 2 is 70. 7 minus 0 is 7. 8 minus 7 is 1. I'm going to bring down that 5. 35 goes into 175. I'm going to say 5 times. Let's try it out. 5 times 5 is 25. Carry the 2. 5 times 3 is 15 plus 2 is 17. That's 175. So I'm going to put a 5 here. 35 times 5, 175, 0. Okay, I don't have anything else to bring down, and I finish with a 0, which means I'm done with this. T equals 25 years. So let's look at our answer choices. This says 2.5. This one is 25. And those are months. So we're good to go. Okay, let's keep going. Let's look at number 2. It says, Kate deposited $1,900 into a savings account that earns 2.5% simple interest. In how many months will she have earned $285 in interest? So this is kind of similar to the last question, but this time it's asking us for time in months. So we're going to look for time, but then we have to convert it to months. Deposited $1,900 is our principal, 2.5% is our rate, and our interest is $285. Let's convert this rate into a decimal. So I'm going to divide it by 100, move it 2 spaces to the left, and get 0.025. So now that I have that, let me write my equation, plug everything in. So my interest, $285. My principal, $1,900. My rate, 0.025. My time, I don't know it, so I'm going to call it T. So now, I want to multiply these two together because they're on the same side of the equal sign. So I'm going to do 1,900 times 0.025. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 9 is 45. So I'm going to put a 5 and carry a 4. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 4 is 9. Now I'm going to move on to the next one, put a placeholder 0. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 9 is 18, so I'm going to carry a 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So I'm going to add it up now. 0, 0, 5. 9 plus 8 is 17, carry the 1. 1 plus 3 is 4. Now I do have a decimal here, and there are 3 numbers behind the decimal point, so there will be 3 numbers behind this decimal point in my answer. So this becomes 285 equals 47.5. The zeros behind, we don't have to write them. We leave it like that. So now I want to get the t by itself, so I'm going to divide by 47.5 on both sides. That cancels this out. So 47.5, 285. So I'm going to move one decimal point to the right, and I'm going to fill it in with a 0. We don't like decimals when we're dividing, so we have to get rid of it on the outside, okay? So we rewrite this as 475 into 2850. Let me erase this. So how many times is 475 going to 285? It can't. So we're going to have to just kind of multiply this evenly. So let's do that thing I do where we kind of estimate, okay? 475 is pretty close to 500, and 2850 is pretty close to 3,000. So 500 times 6 just about gives me 3,000. So let's try 475 times 6. 6 times 5 is 30, carry the 3. 6 times 7 is 42 plus 3 is 45, carry the 4. 4 times 6 is 24 plus 4 is 28. So it actually is exactly 6. When we subtract it, we don't have anything left over and we have nothing to bring down. So we can leave it as t equals 6 years. Well, what is the question asking us for? The question is asking us for number of months. So we have to convert this now. We have to say 6 years to x months is equal to 1 year is 12 months. X times 1 is x. 6 times 12 is 72. Because every time we have two fractions equal to each other, we cross multiply them. Another way of doing this is just 6 times 12, but sometimes people don't get why we just do 6 times 12. So a good way of doing it is just saying, okay, I know there's 1 year for every 12 months, and just do it like a proportion question, okay? So 72 months, 72 months. Okay, let's move on to number 3. Let me make a little space here. And here we go. Kendrick deposited $600 into a savings account that earns 3% simple interest rate. How much interest will he have earned after 9 years? So this is deposited $600, that's our principal. 3% is our rate. 9 years is our time. What do we want to know? What is the question asking us for? The interest earned. Okay, let's convert this real quick. Divided by 100. Move that decimal point 2 to the left. 0.03. Okay, that is my rate. So let's plug it all in. Interest that we don't know is equal to $600 principal times 0.03 times 9 years. So let's start off with 600 times 0.03. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 6 is 18. There are 2 numbers behind the decimal point in my question, which means there'll be 2 numbers behind the decimal point in my answer. So I can rewrite these 2 as 18, and then I still have to multiply the 9. So now let's do 18 times 9. 9 times 8 is 72, so I put a 2 and I carry the 7. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 7 is 16. So interest is $162. And there we go. That one was pretty straightforward. I hope you got it. I'm going to go ahead and move on to number 4. It says, Christina deposited $3,200 into a savings account that earns. It says, Christina deposited $3,200 into a savings account that earns 4% simple interest. How much interest will she have earned after 12 years? So it gives us deposited principal. 4% simple interest rate, 4% divided by 100, 1, 2, 0.04. Okay? How much interest? So we're looking for the interest, and the time is 12 years. So let's just plug it in. Interest equals 3,200, which is our principal, times our rate, which is 0.04, times 12 years. So let's start out with 3,200 times 4. Sorry, not times 4, times 0.04. So 3,200 times 0.04. 4 times 0 is 0, 4 times 0 is 0, 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 3 is 12. Okay? There's 2 numbers behind the decimal point here, so there'll be 2 numbers behind the decimal point in my answer, but I don't have to bring those zeros down. So I multiply these 2 together. Now I have 128, and I still have to multiply the 12. So let's do 128 times 12. 2 times 8, 16, carry the 1. 2 times 2, 4, plus 1 is 5. 2 times 1 is 2. Placeholder 0. 1 times 8, 8. 1 times 2, 2. 1 times 1, 1. I'm going to move all of this up because I need more space. Okay. 6 plus 0 is 6. 5 plus 8 is 13, so I carry a 1. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 2 is 5. And just 1. So interest equals $1,536. And there we go. Pretty straightforward. I'm going to make a little space. I'm going to move on to number 5. Number 5 says, Jake deposited $600 into a savings account that earns 5% simple interest. How much will he have earned after 6 years? So principal, 600. Rate, 5%. Let's set it up as a decimal. Divided by 100. That's a whole number, so it's in the back. 1, 2. Fill in that space with a 0. So rate is equal to 0.05. How much interest will he have earned? That tells us we're looking for interest. And time is 6 years. So let's plug it in. Interest equals principal, which is 600, times 0.05, times 6 years. So start out with the first two, 600 times 0.05. 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 6 is 30. There are two numbers behind the decimal point, so this becomes 30. Remember, we don't have to put these two numbers, times 6. What's 30 times 6? 6 times 0 is 0, 6 times 3 is 18. $180. It asks us for how much interest he will have. $180. Awesome. Making some space again, and let's look at number 6. Number 6 says, Maria deposited $3,500 into a savings account that earns 4.1% simple interest. How much interest will she have earned after 3 years? So, deposited $3,500, that's principal. Into a savings account that earns 4.1 simple interest, that's my rate. Let's convert it real quick. 1, 2. So this becomes 0.041. Okay? How much interest means we're looking for interest. Time is 3 years. Let's plug it in. Interest equals 3,500, which is the principal, 0.041, which is the rate, and time, which is 3 years. So first things first, we have to multiply 3,500 times 0.041. So 3,500 times 0.041. 1 times 0, 0. 1 times 0, 0. 1 times 5, 5. 1 times 3, 3. 4 times 0, 0. 4 times 0, 0. 4 times 5 is 20, carry the 2. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 2 is 14. So 0, 0, 5, 3, 4, 1. There are three numbers behind the decimal point, which means there'll be three numbers behind the decimal point, and these two zeros, because they don't have anything else behind them, they're at the very end, we can eliminate them. If there's a 1 here, we cannot eliminate those zeros. But because there is no 1 there, we can eliminate them and we're fine, okay? So now this becomes 143.5, and we still have to multiply the 3. So let's do that. 143.5 times 3. 3 times 5 is 15, carry the 1. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10, carry the 1 again. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1, 13, carry the 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. There's one number behind the decimal point in my question, which means there'll be one number behind the decimal point in my answer. So this is 430.5, which is $430.50 in money, in currency, okay? So there we go. That's number 6. Okay, so I know we've been kind of zooming past these. If there's one of them that you didn't understand, you don't have to keep going with the video. Stop at that point, take a look at it. Because a lot of these questions are kind of the same. So maybe you weren't getting them before, but now you've gone over a couple of them and you're like, okay, I think I know how to get this. Then don't watch the explanation right away. Give the question a try again, and then hit play, okay? So these are just ideas to help you study. If you have questions, don't forget to just submit a comment below, and I'll be more than happy to help you with it. Okay, so let's get started with number 7. Number 7 says, Julian savings account balance is $2,970. If he originally deposited $2,700 into the account 4 years ago, what is the simple interest rate on the account? So this question tells us deposited $2,700 principal, right? It gives us the account balance, which we know we can get stuff from. So let's not worry about that right now. 4 years ago gives us time, and the question is asking us for simple interest rate. Okay, so what we're missing is interest. What we can find, we're also looking for rate. What we can do is we can subtract the account balance minus the principal, and that's going to give us our interest. So 0 minus 0, 0, 7 minus 0, 7, 9 minus 7, 2, and 2 minus 2, 0. This is our interest, okay? So now that we have everything, let's plug it into our equation. So $270 is equal to $2,700, because that's what we start off with, that's our principal, times an unknown rate, times 4 years, okay? So first things first, let's do 2,700 times 4. So 2,700 times 4. 4 times 0 is 0, 4 times 0 is 0, 4 times 7 is 28, carry the 2, 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 is 10. There are no decimals, there's nothing else, so we can leave it as 270 is equal to 10800 times R. We divide by 10,800, so we can isolate the R, and when we do that over here, we get to eliminate a 0, which I love to do. So now, let's do 27 divided by 1,080. So 1,080 goes here. Remember, the numerator, or the top, goes in the inside, the denominator goes on the outside, or the bottom, okay? So 1,080 goes into 27 0 times, it's way too big. So we're not a decimal, and we're not a 0 down here. 1,080 goes into 270, also 0 times, it's still way too big. So now, let's add another 0. 1,080 goes into 2,700, well, we could do 2 times. 1,080, let's do it down here, times 2 is 0, 16, 2,160. So I'm going to put that down here, and I'm going to subtract. 0 minus 0 is 0, 10 minus 6, this becomes a 10, 10 minus 6 is 4, this becomes 6, 6 minus 1 is 5. So we have something left over, now we actually have to add a 0, bring that down. So 1,080 is close to 1,000. This is about 5,000. So I'm going to try 1,080 times 5. So 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 8 is 40, so put 0, k to 4. 5 times 0 is 0 plus 4 is 4. And 5 times 1 is 5. So it's exactly 5. Nothing is left over. We have no more numbers to bring down, so we're done. So our rate is equal to 0.025. But we're not done. We still have to make it a percent. So we multiply it by 100, which means we move that decimal point 2 to the right, and this becomes 2.5%, which is this one. Okay? I hope you got that. When you're ready, we'll move on to number 8. Okay, so let's do number 8. Number 8 says, Kyla's savings account balance is $4,134. If she originally deposited $3,900 into the account 3 years ago, what is the simple interest rate on that account? So this is similar to the one that we've done before. So if you want to hit pause and try doing this question on your own, this is a great time to do it. When you're ready, I'm going to go ahead and explain it. It says she deposited $3,900. This is our principal. We're looking for the simple interest rate, so that's R. 3 years ago is time, and it gives us account balance, which we know if we subtract it, will give us our interest earned. So we're subtracting account balance minus what she deposited, which is $3,900 or principal. Why do we do this? Just to remind you, we do this because our account balance is whatever we deposited plus whatever interest was earned, okay? So 4 minus 0 is 4. 3 minus 0 is 3. We can't do 1 minus 9, so we're going to borrow. This becomes 11 minus 9 is 2, and 3 minus 3 is 0. So the interest is $234. So now that I have this, I can go ahead and start plugging stuff into my equation. So $234 is equal to $3,900 times an unknown rate times 3 years. So 3,900 times 3, 3 times 0, 0, 3 times 0, 0, 3 times 9 is 27, carry the 2, 3 times 3 is 9, plus 2 is 11, so 11,700. So 234 is equal to 11,700 times R. Now we're going to divide by 11,700, and whatever we do to one side of the equal sign, we also do to the other. And now that we have that, let's do our division problem. Remember, the numerator goes in the inside, and the denominator goes on the outside. So 11,700 goes into 234 0 times. It's a way too big of a number. So we're going to add a decimal top and bottom and add a 0 on the bottom. 11,000 goes into 2,340 0 times. Again, it's still way too big. So we add another 0. 11,700 goes into 23,400. Now we're in business. This is a 2. What's 11,700 times 2? 0, 0. 2 times 7 is 14. Carry the 1. 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3. And 2 times 1 is 2. So it's actually exactly 23,400. So we subtract. We have no more numbers to bring down. We have no numbers left over. So R equals 0.02. But this, we have to multiply by 100, which means we move the decimal places 2 to the right, giving us 2%. And there we go. All right, I hope you got that. When you're ready, I'm going to go ahead and start doing number 9. Number 9 says, Jasmine's savings account balance is $240. If she originally deposited $200 into the account 3 years ago, what is the simple interest rate on the account? So once again, I'm giving you the chance, if you want to work on this on your own, hit pause and give it a try. If you're ready, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So it says she originally deposited $200. That's our principal. 3 years ago, that's our time. What is the simple interest rate? We're looking for R again. And again, it gives us the account balance, which is $240. We're going to minus the $240 minus the 200. 0 minus 0, 4 minus 0, 2 minus 2. This is interest. So now that we have that, let's plug it into our equation. Interest is equal to principal times rate times time. So 200 times 3, 006, 40 is equal to 600R. I'm going to divide by 600. Now I'm going to do 4 divided by 60. So 60 goes into 4. 60 goes into 4 0 times. I add a decimal. I add a 0. 60 goes into 40 0 times again. So 60 times 0. Oh, sorry. I add another 0. 60 goes into 400. We're going to say 6 times 7 is 42. So let's say it's going to be 6 times. 60 times 6, 0 is 360. So it's 6, 360. 0 minus 0 is 0. I have to borrow here. 10 minus 6 is 4. I'm going to add another 0 and bring it down. And guess what? I got another 400. So I'm going to put another 6 here. It's still going to subtract by 360. I'm still going to be left over with 40. And it keeps repeating itself. So we're going to stop here. We're going to say the rate is equal to 0.066. But this is not it. We're not done. So we have to multiply by 100 to get a percent. We move the decimal point 2 to the right, and we end up with 6.6%. And that's it. All right, I hope you got that. When you're ready, I'm moving on to number 10. So number 10 says, Gail's savings account is savings account balance is $10,560. If you originally deposited $8,800 into the account 10 years ago, what is the simple interest rate in the account earning? So, deposited $8,800 is our principal. 10 years is our time. Once again, we're looking for the rate. Account balance, $10,560. We're going to subtract them to get our interest earned. This becomes a 0. This becomes a 10. But we borrow, so it becomes a 9. This becomes a 15. 15 minus 8 is 7. 9 minus 8 is 1. Okay, so some of you may be thinking, why in the world are we doing the same kind of question again and again and again with just a different name and different numbers? The reason we're doing this is because the way you get really good at something is by doing it again and again and again and again, okay? So I promise you, I'm not wasting your time. I just want you to score really high on the ASVAB. So I'm plugging everything into my equation. 1,760 is equal to 8,800, which is my principal, times an unknown rate times 10, okay? So I don't know if you remember, but I told you if we multiply by 10, all we have to do is add a 0 at the end of it. But I'm going to show you anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4. Placeholder 0. 0, 0, 8, 8, 0, 0, 0, 8, 8. So it's 88,000. All we do is add a 0 to it, okay? I wanted to show you because I didn't want you to get confused. If you already knew that, then let's just move on real quick, okay? We're dividing on both sides so we can get the r by itself. Look at how we get to eliminate a 0, which I like very much. And now we're left with 176 divided by 8,800. How many times does 8,800 go into 176? 0 times. We add a decimal. How many times does 8,800 go into 1,760? Still 0 times. How many times does 8,800 go into 17,600? 2 times. Because 8,000 times 2 is 1,600, and that's pretty close. So let's do 8,800 times 2 to see what we get. 2 times 0, 0, 2 times 0, 0. 2 times 8 is 16. Put a 6, carry 1. 2 times 8 is 16 again, plus 1 is 17. And that is exactly what we needed. So we subtract it and we get 0. So our rate is 0.02. Now we multiply our rate by 100. We move it over 2 decimal points to the right, and it becomes 2%. And there we are. All right, I hope you got that. We're moving on to number 11 now. Number 11 says, Daniela is saving up for a down payment on a car. She already had saved up $1,300 and wants to make a $1,500 down payment. If she wants to purchase the car in 18 months, what rate of simple interest does she need to earn on a savings account to reach her goal? Okay, so there's a lot here. This is getting more challenging, which is awesome. So let's see what we got, okay? Okay, so she has $1,300 and her goal is $1,500, which means, and by the question it's telling us, she wants to earn that by earning interest in a simple interest account, okay? Okay, so then how much interest does she have to earn? We subtract them. So 1,500 minus 1,300, 0, 0. 5 minus 3, 2. So she needs $200. That's how much interest that she wants to earn. How much is she going to deposit into the account? 1,300, because that's how much she has. So we know that they're principal. How much time does she have? 18 months. Oh, we can't put 18 as time. We have to convert that. We have to convert it to years. So now, 18 months is equal to, 18 months over x years is equal to, there's 12 months in 1 year. So 12x times equals 18 times 1. We divide by 12. So let's do that. Remember, the numerator goes in the inside, the denominator goes on the outside, right? So 12 goes into 18 one time. 18 minus 12 is 6. Let's add a decimal. And let's bring down that 0. 12 goes into 60 5 times. 12 times 5, 60. Now we have nothing left over. We don't have any other numbers to bring down. We're done. So our time is 1.5 years. And our rate is what we're looking for. So now that we have all this, let's plug it into our equation. 200 is equal to 1,300 times rate times 1.5. So now we're going to multiply 1,300 times 1.5. And I'm going to do it up here. So 1,300 times 1.5. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 3 is 15, carry the 1. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. Placeholder 0. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 1 is 1. Now let's add them. And we have one number behind the decimal point in our question, which means we'll have one number behind the decimal point in our answer. 200 equals 1,950 times r. Now we're going to divide by 1,950. And look at that, I get to eliminate a 0, which makes me happy. I'm going to erase some of the stuff to make space for my division problem. So now I have 20 divided by 195. Remember, the numerator goes in the inside. So how many times does 195 go into 20? 0 times. Add a 0. How many times does 195 go into 200? Look at that, 1 time. So 195 times 1 is 195. I subtract. 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 9 is 0. And 1 minus 1 is 0. I have something left over, so I'm going to bring this down. 195 goes into into 50, 0 times. Add another 0. 195 goes into 500, 2 times. Let's do 195 times 2. 10. 18 plus 1 is 19. 2 times 1 is 2, 380. So 390, 0, let's make this a 4. 10 minus 9 is 1, 110. And this number is just getting bigger. So let's put it as rate is equal to 0.102. It's going to be a big number. It's probably going to boost it up to 3, but let's just leave it here for now. We're going to multiply this by 100. So we go 1, 2, 10.2%. So it's actually the first one, but I guess the next number will boost it up to 3. That's okay. We got close, and that's what matters. Here we go. If you're done, if you're ready, I'm going to move on to number 12. I'm going to make some space here so I can work out number 12. Okay. Number 12 says, Jamal deposits $800 into an account that already has an existing balance of $1,200. If the account earns 4% simple interest, what will his balance be in the account after 2 years? Okay. So here, it makes us work a little bit for our principal because it says that there's 800 and 1,200. Okay, so we're going to add them up. 0, 0, 2 plus 8 is 10, 2,000. So our principal is $2,000. Our rate is 4% and our time is 2 years. So what are we looking for? Balance is balance, okay? So that means we have to find interest earned and then add it to the 2,000, okay? So let's put stuff in. Interest, we don't know it, so we're going to leave it just like that. Principal, 2,000 times rates, 4%, which we need to turn into a decimal. Remember, we go 1, 2 to the left, so it's 0.04, times 2 years, which is time. So let's start multiplying things. Let's start with these two. 2,000 times 0.04. 0, 0, 0. 4 times 2, 8. There's two numbers behind the decimal point in my question, so there'll be two numbers behind the decimal point in my answer. So this becomes 80, because we multiply these two, times 2. 80 times 2, 0, 16, $160. Are we done? Of course not. We have to do 2,000 plus $160, which gives us $2,160, and that's our answer. Number 13. Cecilia is saving up for a laptop for school. She needs to save a total of $910. She received $700 in graduation gifts, which she deposited into a savings account that earns 6% simple interest. How long will it take her to reach her goal? Okay, and you know what? I'm looking at the answer choices. Some of them are years and some of them are months, so we might have to convert here. So this looks like a really great challenging question. So let's get started with it. All right, first of all, we know the principal is 700 because it says that she received that and she deposits it. So this is principal. Earns 6% simple interest, and that is rate. And we're looking for time. How long will it take her to get to her goal? Now, what is interest earned? Well, her goal is her interest earned. So it says 910 and she has 700. So how much more does she need? We're going to subtract to get that answer. So 0 minus 0, 1 minus 0, 9 minus 7. She needs $210. So that's how much she wants to earn in interest. Okay, so now that we have that, let's get started. $210 is equal to $700, which is her principal. The rate we need to convert it, 6% divided by 100. 1, 2 gives me 0.06. Okay, and we don't know the time. So let's do this. 700 times 0.06. 6 times 0, 0, 6 times 0, 0, 6 times 7, 42. There's two numbers behind the decimal point in my question, so there'll be two numbers behind the decimal point in my answer. So 210 is equal to 42t. Now I'm going to divide by 42, and I'm going to set up my division problem over here. How many times does 42 go into 21? It cannot. So how many times does 42 go into 210? I have no idea. Let's try 5 though. Because 40 times 5 is 200, and that's pretty close. 5 times 2 is 10, carry the 1. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 1 is 21. So I was right. It's 210. So t equals 5 years. Looks like we do not have to convert this to months. Awesome. Let me make some space. I'm moving on to number 14. Remember, if you have any questions, you're always welcome to comment below with your questions, and we'll be more than happy to help you. So it says, Natalie deposits $8,700 into a savings account. After 8 years, Natalie checks the balance on the account and discovers that she has a total of $12,876. What is the simple interest rate on the account? Okay, so that's nice. She looked and she had more money. So let's take a look. Deposits $8,700, that's our principal. 8 years is our time. And it's a total of this, which means this is our total balance. So to get interest earned, we have to subtract. And it's asking us for the simple interest rate. So let's subtract and get interest earned. 12,876, 8,700, 6 minus 0, 7 minus 0, 8 minus 7, borrow, 12 minus 8, 4. So she earned $4,176. So now that we have everything, let's plug it into our equation. So 4176 is the interest earned. The principal is 8,700. We don't know what the rate is, but we know it happened in 8 years. So let's multiply these two together. 0, 0, 56, carry the 5. 8 times 8 is 64, plus 5, 69. Okay, so now we're going to divide by 69,600. And when we do that, we isolate the r to solve for it. And now let's set up our division problem. So how many times does 69,600 go into 4,176? 0 times, so we add a decimal and a 0. How many times does 69,600 go into 41,760? 0 times, because it's still bigger. Let me move that r. And we add another 0. How many times does 69,600 go into 417,600? This is a big number now. So I'm going to focus on making this one a 70,000, and making this 420,000. So 7 times 6 is 42. So I'm going to try 69,600 times 6. Now, I'm used to doing estimations like that, so I do them really easily. You might not be used to doing them, so maybe it's a little bit harder for you. You can still practice and do it. So even if you get it wrong at first, don't get discouraged. Keep going and keep practicing, okay? So 6 times 0 is 0, 6 times 0 is 0, 6 times 6, 36, carry the 3. 6 times 9 is 54, plus 3 is 57, carry the 5. And 6 times 6 is 36, plus 5 is 41. That's exactly how much we needed. So we're going to put the 6 here, 41, 76, 0, 0. I subtract, I have nothing left over. Okay, I move that over so we can see the answer choices. Now, that means that my rate is 0.06. I multiply this by 100 so I can get percent. 1, 2 to the right makes this 6%. And there we go. 6% is the answer. Okay, awesome. So now, I'm going to make space so we can do our very last question. And our last question is number 15. It says, Logan deposits $700 into an account that already has an existing balance of $1,400. If the account earns 5% simple interest, what will his balance be in the account after 9 years? So, we have to add these two to get the principal because he's adding 700 to 1,400. Earns 5% simple interest, that's our rate. 9 years is our time. So let's add 1,400 plus 700. 0, 0, 11, 2. So this is our principal. What is the question asking us for? His balance. So that means that we have to find the interest first and then add it to our principal, and that will give us balance. Okay? So let's plug everything into our equation. Interest equals principal times rate, which we're going to turn into a decimal real quick. we're going to divide by 100, which means we move it 1, 2 to the left, and this becomes 0.05, times 9 years. So let's start with 2100 times 0.05. 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 1 is 5, 5 times 2 is 10. There's 2 numbers behind the decimal point in the question, which means there'll be 2 numbers behind the decimal point in the answer. And now that I multiply these two together, I'm going to rewrite this as 105 times 9. So now I'm going to multiply 105 times 9. 9 times 5 is 45. 9 times 0 is 0 plus 4 is 4. And 9 times 1 is 9. So interest earned is $945. And now I'm going to add that to my principal. So 0 plus 5 is 5, 4, 1 plus 9 is 10, carry the 1, $3,045. And that's it. Okay, so we're done with this quiz. Remember, if you have questions, always feel free to just comment below, and I'd be more than happy to help you. Good luck. Okay, let's keep going. You're doing awesome. Let's take a look at one more problem. So Jonathan had 24 stamps in his collection. He decided to share his stamps with his friend Luke. Jonathan gave Luke 6 stamps. What percent of stamps did Jonathan share from his original collection? So let's go ahead and identify the givens in this problem. Remember, that is the way that we approach word problems. So we know that he had 24 stamps, which is his total. We also know that he gave his friend Luke 6 stamps. This is his part. We are looking here for the percentage. How do we know? Well, because it says it in the question. It says, what percent of stamps did Jonathan share from his original collection? That tells us that our x, or our unknown, will be placed in the percentage section of our equation. Let's go ahead and put this all together. So we set up our fractions. We know that 6 is our part because this is the number of stamps that Jonathan gave his friend Luke. We know that 24 is the whole because this is 6 stamps that were given away out of the collection of 24. That's the total number of stamps that there were at the beginning. We know that we're looking for the percentage because that's what is asked in the question. And we also know that 100 always goes down here. So we can cross multiply because there are 2 fractions equal to each other. 6 times 100 is 600. 24 times x is 24x. Now, the 24 and the x are multiplied to each other, so let's go ahead and divide to isolate the x because that's how we solve for this. This cancels out. 600 divided by 24, we can work it out over here. So 24 goes into 60 2 times. 24 times 2 is 48. 60 minus 48 is 12. We can bring down the 0, and we have 120. 24 goes into 120 5 times. 120 minus 120, 24 times 5 is 120. So 120 minus 120 is 0. So we know that if Jonathan gave Luke 6 stamps, he gave him 25% of his original stamp collection. Let's take a look at one more problem. All right, let's take a look at another question. If Jennifer purchases a dress for $40 and it was on sale for 25% off its original price, what was the original price of the dress? This question is a little tricky, but let's go ahead and see how we can plug it into our equation to make it more straightforward. So what do we know about this question? Remember, we need to identify the givens. So $40 is what she actually paid for the dress. This is the sale price of the dress. This is the price after the discount. 25% has been applied. We know that 25% is the discount off the original price. So what we're going to do is we're going to base all of our equation off of finding the original price. And the original price would be considered the whole. So our whole, we're going to call x because we don't know what it is. We do know that 100 always goes down here. And we also know that she paid $40 for the dress. So we're going to consider that our part. Now, this is where it gets tricky. We know that the discount she received was 25%. But if we put 25% in our percentage section, we are saying that 40 is 25% of the whole, and it's not. 25 represents the discount, okay? So she got a discount of 25%. We need to figure out what percentage this is from the original price, and that is what we're going to place here. So we're adding an extra step to our original equation. We know that the whole is 100%. And if the discount is 25%, let's minus that. So we can get the percent that was actually paid, and that is 75%. So let's make sure we understand this. 100% is the original amount. 25% is the discount. It's the part that she's not paying for. 75% is the part that she is paying for. So because $40 is the part that she's paying for, we're going to put here the percent that she's paying for, which is 75%. Now that we have finished setting up our equation, we can go ahead and cross multiply. So x times 75 is 75x. And 40 times 100 is 4,000. We're going to divide by 75 so we can isolate the x. This cancels out. Now let's go ahead and work this out. 75 goes into 400 5 times. 75 times 5 is 375. 400 minus 375 is 25. Now we can bring down the 0. 75 goes into 250 3 times. 75 times 3 is 225. 250 minus 225 is 25. If we bring down another 0, we'll keep repeating the 3. So let's go ahead and leave it at 53. So the original price of the dress was $53. All right, great. Let's do another problem. So the problem says, a dining room table has an original price of $210, but there's currently a sale and the sale price of the dining room table is now $180. What is the percent discount a customer receives with the sale? So let's look at how we can plug this into our equation. Now, we know that the original price is $210. That would go, so we know the original price is $210. That would go in the whole section. We know that the sale price is $180, and we are looking for the discount. We're looking for the percent discount. So we've identified the givens, and we've also identified the question. So let's take a look at how we can put this into our equation. So remember, our equation is part over whole equals percent over 100. Now, we've been given the part is $180. And we've been given the whole, which is $210. What we do not know is the percentage discount. We don't know how much discount this person received. But if we look here, the $180 is not the amount that was discounted from the original price. Instead, that is the amount that the customer is actually paying for the table. So then this is not going to work. If we're looking for the percent discount, we need to put the amount of the discount here. Can we find the amount of the discount? Well, yes, we can. We can figure out the difference between 210 and 180. So let's do that real quick. 210 minus 180 is 30. So the amount of the discount is $30. Now we're going to rewrite our equation with this new number. So we're going to put $30 because that's the amount of the discount over 210, which is our original price. We're going to put X for our percent because we're looking for the percent of the discount and this is our unknown. And we're going to put 100 here because 100 always goes there when we do this equation. So now that we have two fractions equal to each other, we can go ahead and cross multiply. So 30 times 100 is 3,000. And 210 times X is 210X. So now we can go ahead and divide to isolate the X. We can eliminate a zero, like we've done in other problems, because it's the same the top and the bottom. We cannot eliminate these zeros because there are no more zeros to eliminate in the bottom. So let's go ahead and work out this. So we have 21 into 300. So 21 goes into 30 one time. 1 times 21 is 21. We subtract and we get 9. We can bring down a 0. 21 goes into 90 4 times. 21 times 4 is 84. And we get 6. Let's go ahead and add a decimal. We're going to bring it down. If we add a decimal on the bottom, we must also add it to the top. 21 goes into 60. Sorry about that. 21 goes into 60 2 times. We get 42. 60 minus 42 is 18. If we keep going, we're going to get a complicated decimal. So let's leave it here. 14.2%. So that means that if the customer paid $180, what they got was a 14% discount. Let's take a look at another problem. So let's go ahead and look at another problem. A television with an original price of $840 is on sale for 30% off the original price. There's an additional 10% discount if the customer has a rewards card. What is the price of the television after a customer receives both discounts? So this one's a little more challenging because you have to do the percentage equation twice. Now, a lot of times people will make the mistake of adding the two percentages and saying, well, 30% plus 10% is 40%. But if you do this, you'll get the wrong answer. So let me show you how to approach this question. First, let's identify the givens. So the television has an original price of $840. So we know that that is our whole. It does not give us a part, so we know that's what we're looking for. And it gives us two percentages. We're going to start off with the 30% because that is the first discount given to the customer. And then we'll go ahead and take the 10% after that. So let's get started. Remember, our part is unknown, so we're going to put an X there. Our whole, the original price of the television, is $840. So we're going to put that over here. Our percent discount the first time is a 30% discount. And we know that 100 always goes down here. So let's go ahead and cross multiply. X times 100 is 100x. And 840 times 30, let's go ahead and work that one out. So 840 is 25,200. Oh, sorry, here we go. 25,200. So let's divide by 100 so we can isolate the x. Whatever we do, one side equal sign will also do to the other. So let's do that over here. This cancels out. And we can eliminate these two zeros because there are two zeros on the top and the bottom. Remember, we can only eliminate zeros that the top and the bottom have in common. So this leaves us with x equals $252. So let's make sure that we understand what this number means. Here, we have the percent discount that is given to the customer. That means that this number is the amount of the discount that's given to the customer. So we can actually subtract that from 840 to get the price that remains, the sale price, if you will. So let's do 840 minus 252. So here we have to borrow. 10 minus 2 is 8. Here, we have to borrow again, so this becomes a 7, this becomes a 13. 13 minus 5 is 8. And here, 7 minus 2 is 5. So, a television that has an original price of $840, after it gets a 30% discount, and we take away $252 as the amount of the discount, the remaining price is $588 on the television. Remember, the question says that the customer will receive an additional 10% off, so we're not finished with our question yet. Let's go ahead and find out if this is our new price. Let's find out what the price is after we take away the 10% discount. So we set up a new equation, where $588 is our whole. X is going to be our part because we don't know how much of a discount we're getting. 10% is the percent of the discount, and 100 always goes down here. So x times 100 is 100x. 588 times 10 is 5,880. And we're going to go ahead and divide by 100. Remember, we do this because we want to isolate the x. So we're dividing there. Here, we can only eliminate one zero because only one zero is the same on the top and the bottom. So we're left with 588 divided by 10. We can go ahead and move over the decimal point, and we know that x equals $58.8, or $58.80. Now, let's make sure we understand what we've done here. $58.80 is the number or the amount of the discount because it's equated to the percent of the discount. So this is not what the customer is paying. Instead, this is what the customer does not have to pay. This is the amount of the discount. Let's go ahead and subtract this from our original price of $588, or our new sale price, if you will. So $588 minus $58.80. Make sure that your decimal points are lined up so we're not making any mistakes. So 0 minus 0 is 0. Here we have to borrow from next door, so 10. This becomes a 7. 10 minus 8 is 2. Here we don't have enough, so we have to borrow from next door. This becomes a 17. 17 minus 8 is 9. 7 minus 5 is 2. And 5 minus 0 is 5. So we're left with $529.20. If a customer were to buy a television, and the original price was $840, and they received first a 30% discount, and then a 10% discount, what they would pay is $529.20 at the end. We solved the problem. All right, let's go ahead and do one last problem for our percentage word problem section. So here we go. The problem says, Maria purchases a television set for $600. She made an agreement to pay 35% of the price as a down payment, and then she must make payments on the balance for 12 months. If the payments are equal for the 12 months, how much is each installment? So this question has two parts. First, we have to use a percentage equation to figure out what her down payment is. And then we have to figure out what the remaining balance is and divide that balance by 12 months to figure out how much each installment is, because that's what the question is asking us for. So let's go ahead and see how we can use our equation to solve this problem. So we have our two fractions here. We don't know what the part is, but we do know what the whole is. We know that the whole is $600 because that is the price of the television. We also know the percent of the down payment is 35%, and we know that 100 always goes down here. Now, we have to make sure we understand what we're doing here. This is the percentage of the down payment, which means we're going to find the part of the down payment. That's what this means. So let's go ahead and cross multiply. 100 times x is 100x. 600 times 35 is 21,000. Yes. Let's go ahead and divide to solve for x. So we're going to divide by 100 to isolate the x, and we can cancel this out. Whatever we do to one side of the equal sign, we also do to the other. We can cross out the zeros at the top and the bottom have in common. Only two zeros are in common in the top and the bottom. This third zero on the top cannot be crossed out because there's not a third zero in the bottom to cross it out with. So we're left with 210. So we know that x is equal to 210. So let's make sure we understand what we found here. If we are looking for the part, and the part corresponds with 35, 35 is the percent of the down payment. This is the amount of the down payment. So this is how much she gave to be able to get the television. In order to figure out how much is left on her payments, we have to subtract this from the original amount of 600. So let's go ahead and do that. So 600 minus 210, 0 minus 0 is 0. We have to borrow to be able to complete this. 10 minus 1 is 9, and 5 minus 2 is 3. So we know that after she gives a down payment, her remaining balance is $390. Now we know that she divides this remaining balance into installments of 12 payments. So let's divide that so we can figure out how much each installment is. So 12 goes into 39 3 times. 12 times 3 is 36. When we subtract it, we get 3 left over. Let's bring down the 0. 12 goes into 30 2 times, which gives us 24. 30 minus 24 is 6. Let's go ahead and add a decimal. We bring down the 0. 12 goes into 60 5 times. 12 times 5 is 60. 60 minus 60 is 0. So we end up with $32.50. Let's make sure we understand what we have figured out already, or what we've solved. We know that she gave a 35% down payment, which was $210. After she gave that down payment, she has a balance of $390, which she will divide into installments of 12 months. This is $32.50. Well, what does the question ask us for? The question asks us for the amount of the installments, or the amount of the payments that she makes every month. So we knew that $32.50 is the answer to the question, and we've solved our problem. Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you found it helpful. Stay tuned for other modules that include simple interest and ratios. Make sure that you are practicing a lot and that you're using all the resources available to you. Check out our website where we have practice workbooks and practice tests that will help you further prepare for this exam. But if you have any questions, you contact us at info@ltstutoring.com. We wish you the best of luck as you prepare for this exam. Thank you. As you study, if a television is on sale for $280 and the original television is $420, what is the percent discount on the television? First thing we're going to ask ourselves is, what is the question asking us for? The percent discount. Okay? Now, when we set that up on our equation for percents, we're looking for the percent of the discount, which means we're going to put the number of the discount right here. Because these two top ones have to be the same. Okay? So, what is the number of the discount? Well, we don't know. It doesn't say it directly. It tells us that the total is $420 and that the sale price is $280. But can we subtract these two to find the discount? Yes. $420 is the original price. $280 is what you actually have to pay. And then the difference, 0 minus 0 is 0, 12 minus 8 is 4, 140. This is what you save. This is the discount. So that's what we're going to put right here. Okay? So, let's do that. 140 over the whole, which is 420. We don't know what the percent is going to be. But we know that the whole for percent is 100. So 420 times x is 420x. 140 times 100, we do 140, and we add the 2 zeros from 100 at the end. And then we divide by 420 so we can isolate the x. And we'll do that to both sides. So we can cross that out there because they have a 0 in common. And now we're going to do 1400 divided by 42. So 42 goes into 140 how many times? So if I do 42 times 3, 3 times 2 is 6, and 3 times 4 is 12. That's pretty close. If I were to add another 42, that's going to get me like 160 something. So it doesn't work. So I'm going to put a 3 up here. 126. Now I'm going to subtract. 10 minus 6 is 4. 3 minus 2 is 1. And I bring down a 0. 42 goes into 140. Well, we already did that. It's 3 minus 126. And that was 14. I could keep going and do the decimal, but I see already that this matches this answer here, so I can stop. So my answer is 33%. Remember, 33 is a percent of the discount. That means that this television was 33% off, and that's why it cost $280. Okay, I hope you got it. I'm going to keep going. Let's look at number 2 together. It says, Julian wants to purchase a pair of shoes that cost $45. If he has a coupon for 20% off his purchase, what will the price of the shoes be after the discount is applied? Here, the question is asking us for the price of the shoes after the discount. So we have to take the discount, and we have to take it away or subtract it from the total to find out what the price is going to be. Okay? So when we look at the question gives us a clue as to what the steps are going to be. So first thing I need to do is I need to figure out what is my discount? What am I going to save? Or what is Julian going to save on these shoes? So I'm going to put 45 down here. I'm going to put the percent of the discount. When I put the percent of the discount up here, when I put an X here, this will give me the number of the discount. So I'm going to do that over 100. So 100 times X is 100X. 20 times 45, it's 900, but let me show you how I do it. 0, 0, 0. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. Okay. So now that we have 45 times 20 is 900, let's isolate the X, and we divide by 100. We can cross out some zeros because they have them in common, and I get X equals 9. Now this is interesting. There is an option for 9 here, but we are not done with this question, and that is why that is not the correct answer. The question is asking us for the price of the shoes after the discount, and this is just a discount. So now that I have the discount, I'm going to subtract from the original price, so I know the price of the shoes after the discount. 45 minus 9 is 36, and that gives me my correct answer. Okay? Hope you got it. If not, feel free to hit pause or rewind, rewatch that. Try to practice questions like it, okay? Maybe a little bit of space, and then we're going to move on to the next one. Number 3. A gentleman wants to purchase a necklace for his wife that has an original price of $800. The store clerk offers the gentleman a 10% discount for purchasing the necklace with cash. If the gentleman purchases the necklace with cash, what would the price of the necklace be? So let's look at the question. It says he purchases it with cash, and what would the price be? Well, if he purchases with cash, he gets this discount here, right? So for us to figure out what the price will be, we have to find the discount for 10% of 800, and then we need to subtract it from 800 to find out what the price would be after the discount is applied. Okay? So let's find the number of the discount. We put our percent discount up here, 100 always goes here, and because I put the 10% discount here, I put an X over here. Now I cross multiply. 100 times X is 100X. 800 times 10 is the 800 plus an additional 0. And I divide by 100. I cross out the zeros they have in common, and I get X equals 80. Now, once again, we see that it's an option, but it's not the correct answer, because it's not asking us for the number of the discount. It's asking us for the price once the discount is taken. So we have to do 800 minus 80, which gives us $720. There we go. I hope you're getting these. I hope it's making a little more sense, because there's a couple that are similar. If not, remember, you can go back and review it. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead, make some space, and move on to number 4. It says, Sophia wants to purchase a couch at a yard sale. The price on the tag of the couch says $350, but she's able to negotiate the price to $280. What percent discount did Sophia receive on the original price of the couch? So it's asking us, remember, we look at the question. What is the question asking us for? It's asking us for the percent discount, okay? We want to know, in our equation, this one right here. And if this is the discount, then this is going to be the number of the discount, okay? So how do we find the number of the discount? This gives me the whole. This gives me the price that she paid. We subtract them. We subtract them to see how much she did not pay or how much she just saved. It's the same thing. 0 minus 0 is 0. This becomes 15. This becomes 2. 15 minus 8 is 7. 2 minus 2 is 0. So 70. That is Sophia's discount. We put this over the whole. Why do we put it over the whole and not the price? Because this is where it originally comes from. We're taking 70 away from 350. That's our whole. And we put 100 right here. So now let's cross multiply. 350x equals 70 plus the 2 zeros of the 100. We're going to divide by 350 so we can get the x by itself. 700 divided by 35. 35 goes into 70 2 times. Oh, sorry. We actually have to break down another 0. 35 goes into 0 0 times. And now we can cross it out. So my answer is x equals 20%. All right. I hope you got it. I'm going to move on to number 5. Oh, this is a good one. So this one says, a store selling men's dress shirts for $24 each. If you purchase more than 4 shirts, you receive an additional 10% discount on the price of the dress shirts. How much would 5 shirts cost? Okay, so here it says that the shirts are $24 each. And if you buy 4 or more, you'll get a discount. Now, how much did we buy? 5 shirts, which means we'll get a discount, right? So it wants to know how much would those 5 shirts cost. Well, first things first. How much do 5 shirts cost without the discount? Because this is with a discount applied. Let's see how much it is without the discount. And then we'll apply the discount, and then we'll know what the final price is going to be. So 24 times 5, because there's $24 per shirt, and there's 5 shirts. So 5 times 4 is 20, carry the 2. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. So 5 shirts is $120. That is going to be my whole. Okay? I'm always going to put 100 down here. Now I'm going to find out what is the percent. Sorry, what is the number of the discount? How much do I save? So I put the percent of the discount here, and I put an x over here, and that is going to give me the number that I saved because of this discount. So x times 100 is 100x. 120 times 10 is the 120, and then a 0 from the 10. I'm going to divide by 100 because I want the x by itself. And when I do that, I can eliminate some zeros. So x equals $12. Is that the price of the shirts? No, that's how much I save. So now I'm going to do $120, which is my original price, minus the $12 that I save. This turns into 10. This turns into 1. 10 minus 2 is 8. 1 minus 1 is 0. And 1 minus 0 is 1. So the 5 shirts would cost $108. This one was a little bit different because we had to multiply beforehand. But once we multiplied, it's still just applying a discount and figuring out what the price is going to be. Okay? So try to focus on the things that are similar. Alright, let's look at number 6. It says, a computer is on sale for $900. If the sale price is 30% off the original price, what is the original price of the computer? It says here, the question is asking us for the original price of the computer. Okay? This one is going to be a little more challenging, but I'm going to walk you through it, so it's okay. Now, the sale, or the part, is $900. And I'm going to draw a little diagram here. Let's say that this whole box represents the complete or total price or the original price of the computer. When it goes on sale, we cut this into the price that you pay and the price that you don't pay, or the discount, the price that you don't pay, and the price, which is the percent that you do pay. When you add these two parts up, they'll still be the whole or the original price. And as a percentage, when you add the two percentages up, it should give you 100. So 30 plus what gives me 100? Well, 70. 70%. So why did I do this? I did this because if I'm going to put this number up here, which is the price, or what I actually pay for the computer, then over here, on this side, I have to put the percent that is the price, or the percent that I actually pay for the computer. If I was to put 30% up here, this would be wrong, because this would mean that 900 is 30%, or the discount. 900 is not the discount. 900 is the amount that you actually pay. So what percent do you actually pay? 70%. Okay? Now, we put that over 100, and we call our whole x because we don't know what it is. Now we cross multiply. 70 times x is 70x, and this is equal to 900 plus the additional 2 zeros from the 100. We're going to divide this by 70. I can eliminate a 0. So now I'm going to do 9,000 divided by 7. So 7 goes into 9 one time. I have a 2 left over. I bring down a 0. 7 goes into 20 2 times. 7 times 2, 14. 6 is left over. Bring down a 0. 7 goes into 60 8 times. 7 times 8 is 56. And I bring down the last 0. 7 goes into 40 5 times. 7 times 5 is 35. I could keep going, but this already matches one of my answers. And there's no other one that's close to it. So we can stop right here. Okay? I know this one is a little confusing. I'm pretty sure we have a couple other questions that you practice this in. If you didn't get it, go back and rewatch the explanation for this question. I want to make sure you get it, because this is a really important question. I guarantee you'll have a question like this on the ASVAB or the AF, OQT, or whatever military test you're taking. They really love to give you questions like this. So take the time to figure this one out and to review what I showed you. If not, if you're ready, let's keep going. Number 7. It says, Stephen purchases a car for $7,000. He makes a 20% down payment on the car and pays the remaining balance in 25 equal payments. How much are his monthly payments? All right. What is the question asking us for? The monthly payments. So this one has some extra steps, okay? It tells us that the total cost of the car is $7,000, and that he pays 20%. When you pay a down payment, that means you pay that much upfront, and then whatever the balance is or whatever's left over is going to be split up into payments, okay? So if we need to figure out how much each payment is, and we know there's 25 equal payments, then we need to figure out how much he's actually paying, like the balance that's left over. So first we gotta find the 20%, we subtract it. The number that's left over is the balance, and then we'll divide that by 25, okay? So I'll show you real quick. First, we look at 7,000. We're gonna take 20% of that. We don't know what 20% of 7,000 is, so we're gonna call it x. And we always put 100 here on the bottom. So 100 times x is 100x. And 7,000 times 20, you know what? Let me make myself a little more space there. 7,000 times 20 is 14. 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. I'm gonna divide it by 100 because I wanna get the x by itself. And when I do that, I can cross out some of these zeros. So I'm left with 1,400 over 1, which is just 1,400, or 1,400. So this is how much Stephen pays. Let's figure out what his balance is. 7,000 minus 1,400. So 0, 0, this becomes a 6, this becomes a 10. 10 minus 4 is 6, 6 minus 1 is 5. This is his remaining balance. This is the balance that we are now going to divide by 25 to figure out how much the payment is going to be. Why can't we just divide it by 25 and that's it? Because it says it's equal payments. If they're all the same, then we could just divide it by 25 real quick. So 25 goes into 56 2 times, because 25 times 2 is 50. 56 minus 50 is 6. I'm going to bring down a 0. 25 goes into 60 2 times again. 10 is left over. We bring down a 0, and 25 goes into 100 4 times, because 25 times 4 is 100. Just think of quarters. That's it. We have no more zeros to bring down. My answer is $224 payments. Okay? We have a similar question after it, so if you want to hit pause and give it a try, maybe you've struggled with this question, but now after the explanation, you understand it a little bit better and want to give it a try, go for it. Hit pause and give it a try before you watch the explanation. If not, then just keep going. I'm going to start with it now. It says, Jennifer purchases a computer for $1,200. She makes a 25% down payment, and the remaining balance is split up into 15 equal payments. How much are Jennifer's monthly payments? So same thing. We're going to find out first how much she puts down payment, subtract that from the balance that she owes, And then we're going to divide the balance by 15. So let's do 1200 as our whole. We don't know what 25% is, so we're going to call it x. And 100 always goes here. So 100x equals 25 times 1200 is a larger number, so I'm actually going to work that one out over here. So 1200 times 25. 0, 0, 10, 6. 0, 0, 4, oops, 2. 0, 0, 0, 0, carry the 1, 3. So we have 30,000. Now we're going to divide this by 100. I always like dividing by 100 because it's easy to just cross out these zeros, right? X equals 300. That's what her down payment was. So let's let's subtract that from the original price, or from the price of the computer. So we know how much is left over, right? So we do 0 minus 0, 0, 12 minus 3, 900. That is her balance. And that balance we are now going to divide by 15. So 15 goes into 90. Well, I know 15 goes into 60 4 times. So 15 times 4 is 60. 15 times 5 is 75, which means 15 times 6 is 90. And even though this is 0, we still have a 0 to bring down. 15 goes into 0 times. And we have no more zeros to bring down. So the monthly payment is $60. Okay. Next one is also similar. Go ahead and hit pause and give it a try if you didn't get it the first time you did it. Maybe you got it now. Just give it a try. If not, I'm going to keep going. And I'm going to show you how to do that one also. Okay, number 9. Here we go. Jose purchased a dining room set at a furniture store. The dining room table had an original price of $450 with a discount of 30%. If Jose purchased the dining room table and made 15 monthly payments, how much are his payments? So here, he didn't put a down payment. He got a discount. So let's take away that discount so that we figure out what the price is and how much he has to actually pay in those payments. So we set it up like this. 100x, 45 times 30, 0, 0, 0, 5, carry the 1, 13. So 1350. Sorry. I just realized it's 450. So we just add another 0. I thought that was a weird number. Okay. So let me multiply this again because I don't want to confuse you. 450 times 30. 0, 0, 0. Placeholder 0. 0, 15, carry the 1. 3 times 4 is 12 plus 1 is 13. I add them up and I get 13,500. Okay? I hope that made a little more sense. I'm sorry for the confusion. Now I'm going to divide by 100. I can eliminate those extra zeros. I get x equals 135. This is his discount. So now let's find out what the actual price of this thing is. 450 minus 135. 10 minus 5 is 5. 4 minus 3 is 1. $315. And this gets split into 15 payments. So 15 goes into 315. 15 goes into 30, 1, 2 times. 15 times 2 is 30. 31 minus 30 is 1. I bring down that 5. 15 goes into 15 one time. 15 times 1 is 15. And I get 0. I have no other numbers to bring down, so I can cross out. So my answer is $21 payments. Okay? Alright, let's look at that next one. Oops, sorry. The next one is pretty similar. But this one has 2 discounts, actually. This one is completely different, I'm sorry. Alright, let's read it. Craig wants to buy a bedroom furniture that costs $1,300. The store is offering a discount for the holiday of 30% off the original price. If Craig pays furniture set with his store credit card, he will also receive an additional 10% discount. What is the price of the bedroom furniture set if Craig receives both discounts? This kind of question confuses a lot of people, okay? If you go to a store right now, I guarantee that the person at the store will tell you, yeah, you get a 40% discount because you get 30 and 10. That's not true. In fact, what you have to do is you have to take one discount first and then the other one, okay? So how do we know which discount to take first? We take the first one first. And then afterwards, when we get the price after that first discount, then we take the additional discount off of the price, okay? So I'll show you how to do it. We know our original price is $1,300. We know that Craig will get a discount of 30%. And when we put an X here, this is going to give us the number that he's going to save, or the amount of money that he's going to save. And we put 100 down here. So X times 100 is 100X. And 30 times 1,300, I'm going to do it for you over here. Lots of zeros, placeholder 0, 0, 0, 9, 3. That's a 0. So it's actually, 39,000. That little corner got me, sorry. But I hope you understood what I meant. So 100x equals 39,000. We're going to divide by 100. We're going to get rid of those extra zeros because it's super easy. And we're left with $390. Oops, sorry, $390, not 30. This is what he saves. This is not what he pays. So now we have to subtract it. 1,300 minus 390. And that gives us $910. Now, if it's $910 and he gets an additional 10% discount, this becomes our new total. Okay? So I'm going to actually move this a little bit to give myself more space. And now I get the additional discount. 910. I don't know what that's going to be, but it's a 10% discount out of 100. 100x equals 910 plus that additional 0 from the 10. We divide by 100 on both sides. We eliminate some zeros that we have in common. We're left with x equals 91. So we're going to subtract that 91 from 910. 10 minus 1 is 9. I can't do that. 10 minus 9 is 1, $819. That is the price after both discounts. Okay? That was a longer question. These questions are likely to come up also. So take your time looking over the explanation for this question, and you're more likely going to have another one come up so you can practice. Okay? When you're ready, I'm going to move on. Number 11. It says, there are 22 pounds of dog food in a container. If 4% of the dog food in the container is fed to a dog on Tuesday, and 6% of the dog food remaining in the container is fed to a dog on Wednesday, how much dog food is left in the container? This is an interesting question. First thing we're going to do, let's figure out how much is taken out on Tuesday. 22 is my total. I want to know what 4% of 22 is, so I can know how much was used and how much is left. So 100x equals 22 times 4 is 88. I'm going to divide by 100, but it's not that simple. So I'm going to do regular division. 100 goes into 88 0 times, because 100 is bigger than 88. So I'm going to add a decimal and I'm going to add a 0 down here. 100 goes into 880 8 times. 8 times 100 is 800. I add another 0. I bring it down. 100 goes into 800 8 times. I have no more zeros to bring down. I'm done dividing. I have nothing left over. So that means that on Tuesday, 0.88 pounds were used. Okay? Now I'm going to subtract that from 22. But because it's a decimal, I'm going to add some zeros. So 10 minus 8 is 2. 9 minus 8 is 1. 1 minus 0 is 1. And I just bring down a 2. If that was confusing for you, you might want to go watch the video on decimals and subtraction, okay? It's going to help you out a lot. So that means that after Tuesday, what I have left is 21.12 pounds. And I'm going to use 6% of that. So I'm going to erase this to make some space to keep going. My new whole is 21.12. I don't know how much is going to be used, but I do know that that is 6% out of 100. 100x equals, wow, now we have to do 21.12 times 6. Let me do it over here. 6 times 2 is 12. Carry the 1. 6 times 1 is 6 plus 1 is 7. 6 times 1 is 6. And 6 times 2 is 12. There are two numbers behind the decimal point, so there will be two numbers behind the decimal point over here. And now I have this number. I'm going to divide by 100. And I can't eliminate any zeros, which means I have to do regular division. 100 goes into 126 one time. I'm going to bring down the 7. 100 goes into 267 two times. But because I brought down the 7 that's on the other side of the decimal point, I'm going to put a decimal point up here that's lined up. And then I'm going to put my answer behind that decimal point. So 200, have 67 left over. Bring down the 2. 100 goes in 672 6 times. 600, 72. I can keep going, but I'm actually going to stop right here. Because I see in my answers, there's only two numbers behind the decimal points. So I'm not going to keep working so hard, I'm just going to kind of estimate here. Now, my answer is going to be x equals 1.26. This is how much was used on Wednesday, right? So, if this is how much there was, we're going to subtract 21.12 minus 1.26. We're going to carry that over. 12 minus 6 is 6. I got to borrow from over here. 10 minus 2 is 8. I'm going to borrow again. 10 minus 1 is 9. 19.86. Closest one I have is 19.85. That's my answer. Okay, I hope you got it. That was a challenging question. It was challenging because we're working with very small percentages and decimals can be a little harder to work with. So if you're struggling with decimals, that's okay. Just go and watch the module on decimals and brush up on it. Okay? If you're ready, I'm going to move on to number 12. Just have a couple questions left. We're breezing through this. Question 12 says, Henry must read 120 pages of his textbook by Thursday. If he reads 10% of the pages required on Monday, and 50% of the remaining pages, and that's important, on Tuesday, how many pages does Henry have left to read? So Monday he reads 10%. Tuesday he reads 50% of the remaining. All right, let's do it. And they want to know how many pages does he have left. He starts off with 120. He reads 10% on Monday. Let's find out what that number is. Let's start off with that, okay? 100x, 120 times 10 is a 120 plus a 0 from the 10. Going to divide by 100. 0, 0, 0, 0. We cross out those extra zeros and we get x equals 12. That means Henry read 12 pages on Monday. How many does he have left? 10 minus 2 is 8. 1 minus 1 is 0. 1 minus 0 is 1. He has 108 pages left. Then it says that he read 50% of the remaining pages. So of this. Not the 120, but what's left over after Monday, okay? That's what he reads Tuesday. So let's find out what the percent, sorry, not what the percent, what that number of pages is. We plug in 50% for our percentage, and we plug in an x so we can find out what that number is. 100 times x is 100x, and 108 times 50 is not so straightforward, so I'm actually going to work that one out with you. Sorry. So 0 times 8 is 0, 0 times 0 is 0, 0 times 1, 0. We make a little space here. Now 5. I put my placeholder 0. 5 times 8, 40. Put the 0, carry the 4. 5 times 0 is 0, plus 4, 4. 5 times 1, 5. I add it up, I get 5,400. Now I'm going to divide by 100 to get the x by itself. I cross out these extra zeros, and I end up with x equals 54. So that's what he reads on Tuesday. If we look at the answer choices, we can get confused and say, yeah, that's what I have left. But let's just make sure, okay? If he read Monday, boom, the 12. He has left over 108. Then what is 108 minus 54? What's going to be left over? 8 minus 4 is 4. This becomes a 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. So yes, it is 54 pages. Okay? Hope that makes sense. I'm going to clear up a little bit of space here so we can go ahead and do 13 together. 13 says, Jessica wants to purchase a handbag for $50. The handbag is on sale for 25% of its original price. Jessica also has a store coupon that gives her an additional 15% off her purchase. How much will Jessica pay for the handbag if she receives both discounts? So remember this kind of question, right? We take the first discount first and then the additional discount. So let's do it. $50, but she's going to get a discount, which is 25% of the whole thing. 100 times x, because we're going to cross multiply, right, is 100x. 25 times 50, we're going to work out together. 0 times 5 is 0, 0 times 2 is 0, placeholder 0. 5 times 5 is 25. Carry the 2. 5 times 2 is 10 plus 2, 12. 0, 5, 2, 1. 12, 50. And it's divided by 100. I get to get rid of an extra 0, but I still have one left over, which means I have to do regular division. 10 goes into 12 one time. Bring down the 5. 10 goes into 25 two times. No, sorry. Which is 5. Now, we have a remainder, so we're going to add a decimal and a 0, and a decimal on the top also. I'm going to bring down the 0. 10 goes into 50 5 times. 10 times 5 is 50. I have no remainders and nothing to bring down. So $12.50 is what she saves with the first coupon. So that means that's going to be $50 minus 12.5. I'm going to borrow from here, make this a 10. I'm going to borrow, make it a 9, so this can become a 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. Bring down the decimal. 9 minus 2 is 7. 4 minus 1 is 3. So it's $37.50. That's a new price. Now we're going to take an additional 15% off. I'm actually going to erase this so I have a little more space to work with. And I'm going to put $37.50 as my new original or whole. I'm going to put x up here because I want to see how much of this is 15%. So now, 100x equals $37.50 times 15. Let's work that one out together. $37.50 times 15. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 5 is 25. Carry the 2. 5 times 7 is 35 plus 2 is 37. Carry the 3. 5 times 3 is 15 plus 3 is 18. Now add a placeholder 0. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 7 is 7. 1 times 3 is 3. Add it all up. 0, 5, 12, 16, 5. And there are two numbers behind the decimal point. So 562.50. If you're still struggling with that, remember, go see the decimal point or the decimal module. Now that I've done that, I'm actually going to make a little bit of space so I can finish dividing. This one's a longer one, so we need more space than the other ones. All right, I'm going to divide by 100. I'm actually going to do this. 100 goes into 562 5 times. 100 times 5 is 500, and I have 62 left over. I'm going to bring up the decimal point and bring down that 5. 100 goes into 625 6 times. 100 times 6 is 600. I'm left with 25. Bring down that 0. 100 goes into 250 2 times. 200 left over with 50. Add one more 0. 100 goes into 500 5 times. Let me make some space. 5 times 100 is 500. 0. That's a discount. X equals 563. And now I'm going to subtract it from the 37.50. So I'm actually going to erase this and put it down here. So it's a little easier. So this becomes a 4. 10 minus 3 is 7. I have to borrow over here also. 14 minus 6 is 8. 6 minus 5 is 1. 31.87. We're pretty close. 31.88 over here. Okay? All right. That was a tough one. If you need to go over it, just hit pause and feel free to do so. Let me make a look. Okay, let's do number 14. So Lucy sets a goal to run 30 miles per week. If she runs 10% of her goal on Monday, 20% of the remaining miles on Tuesday, how many more miles must Lucy run to reach her goal? So we're going to start off with looking at the question. It's asking us for how many more miles to her goal. And it tells us that she did a percent on Monday and a percent of the remaining on Tuesday. So we're going to start with Monday, okay? Let's find 10% of the goal because that's what she ran on Monday. 30 is our total because that's the goal. 100 always goes there. We're putting 10% here because that's what we're looking for. And we're putting x here because that's going to tell us what 10% of 30 is. Now that we have two fractions equal to each other, we can easily cross multiply. So 100 times x is 100x. And 30 times 10 is 300. Now I'm going to divide by 100 because that 100 is multiplied to the x. And I want to isolate the x, so I do the opposite. And I cross out here the zeros that they have in common. And that gives me x equals 3, which means she ran 3 miles on Monday. Now it says that she ran 20% of the remaining miles on Tuesday. How do we find the remaining miles? We subtract. So we do 30, which is her goal, minus 3 that she ran on Monday, and we get 27. Now this is our new total, okay? And we're going to use this to find out how much she ran on Tuesday. So 27 is my new total. This is what she needs to achieve. 100 always goes here. We're going to find 20% of that. And I'm going to put x there because that's going to give me 20%. Now that I have the two fractions equal to each other, I can cross multiply. 100x equals 27 times 20. 27 times 2 is 54. And I'm going to add that extra 0 from the 20. So I'm going to divide by 100. I can eliminate one zero that they have in common, and now I have 54 divided by 10. So 10 goes into 54 5 times. 10 times 5 is 50. I have a remainder, so I'm going to add a decimal and a 0. And add a decimal to the top also. I bring that 0 down. 10 goes into 40 4 times. 10 times 4 is 40. That gives me 0. I don't have anything remaining. I don't have to bring down any other numbers. So that means that she ran 5.4 miles on Tuesday. Am I done? No. The question is asking me for how many more miles does she have to run. So I have to do 27 minus 5.4. I lined up the decimal points. I put a 0 so that I can subtract, okay? And now I have to borrow and make this a 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. 6 minus 5 is 1. Bring down the decimal point. And 2 minus 0 is 2. So my answer is 21.6 miles. Okay? I hope you got that. Let's do number 15. Okay, so this question says, Jonathan and Lindsay rent an apartment for $1,200 a month. In order to move into the apartment, they must pay a 60% deposit to the landlord, a full month of rent, and a 30% deposit to the homeowners association. How much money will Jonathan and Lindsay need in order to move into the apartment? Okay, so it tells us already how much the monthly payment is, right? But how much they need to move in is actually in the second sentence. It says in order to move in, right? They must pay a 60% deposit, so we need 60% of this, okay? A full month of rent, so $1,200, and a 30% deposit, so 30%. So now what we're going to do is we're going to find 60% and we're going to find 30% of 1,200. And we're going to add that to this 1,200 right here, okay? So 60% of 1,200. We have 1,200 goes down here, 60% of it, 100, and we're looking for the part. X times 100 is 100x. 1,200 times 6. 12 times 6 is 72. 1, 2, 3 zeros. 1, 2, 3 zeros. This 100 is multiplied to the x, so I'm going to divide by 100. I'm going to eliminate the zeros they have in common top and bottom, and I'm left with x equals 720 over 1, which is just 720. So this I can replace with 720. So now let me find 30%. So 1,200 goes here, 30% goes here, x goes over here, 100 goes here. 100x equals 12 times 3 is 36. 1, 2, 3 zeros. 1, 2, 3. Sorry, let me move this a little bit. I'm going to divide by 100. This gets canceled out. I'm going to cancel out the zeros they have in the top and the bottom, and I get x equals 360. Okay, so I have 360 here. So now I'm going to add all three of these up. 720 plus 1,200 plus 360. Okay, that gives me 0, 8, 12, carry the 1, 2. $2,280. And there we go. All right, I hope that made sense to you. I know I did go a little quickly in finding the percentages. So if it doesn't make sense to you to multiply this by doing 12 times 6 and then counting the zeros at the end, then that's okay. Go ahead and try this question and take your time just multiplying everything out like that, okay? So I did kind of rush through those steps, but do whatever it is that you need to do to be able to understand it. Okay, if you have any questions, just leave me a comment below and I'll be more than happy to help. Hey, welcome. So I'm going to go over these quiz questions with you. Hopefully you'll be able to figure out what's going on if you're not doing too great on them. A lot of these questions are similar. So there'll be maybe 2, 3, 4 types of questions, and I'll repeat the same kind of questions. I do that on purpose. Remember that I do that so you can practice a lot of different things again and again and again and again. So if you see that we repeat a question, hit pause and give it a try on your own after watching the first explanation. Okay, and if you have questions, don't forget, you can leave them in the comments below. So this quiz is on rates, and we're going to start with question number 1. It says, a shipment of 1,500 pounds of chocolate candies needs to be sorted into 4-ounce bags. So the shipment has 1,500 pounds, and we're putting them in 4-ounce bags. One bag is 4 ounces. How many bags will be needed? So if you caught it, I said it just a second ago. I said one bag is 4 ounces. So one bag is 4 ounces. What we want to do is we want to set it up in our equation, like our two fractions equal to each other. Why do we want to do that? Because if we do that, we know easily how to find the answer. So one bag is 4 ounces. And we want to know the number of bags. So X bags is 1,500 pounds. What's the problem here? The problem here is that this is in ounces and this is in pounds, and we can't have that. So we have to convert these pounds to ounces. So how many ounces are in pounds? There are 16 ounces in 1 pound. So we want to know how many ounces, X ounces, are in 1,500 pounds. If you notice, the ounces and the ounces are lined up, the pounds and the pounds are lined up. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to do X times 1 is X, 1,500 times 16. I'm going to do it right here. 6 times 0 is 0, 6 times 0 is 0. 6 times 5 is 30, carry the 3. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. Now I'm going to put a placeholder 0. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 1 is 1. 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. 9 plus 5, 14, carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. So X is equal to 24,000. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to replace this with 24,000 ounces. So 4 times X is 4X. 1 times 24,000 is 24,000. I'm going to divide by 4 on each side. So 24,000, I'm going to do it over here. Divided by 4. 4 goes into 24 6 times. 4 times 24, 6. 24 minus 24 is 0. But I still have zeros to bring down, so I have to bring them down. I had 3 zeros to bring down. So my answer is 6,000 bags. Awesome. Okay, I hope you got that. Feel free to watch it again. Don't worry about that. When you're ready, I'm going to make some space, and I'm going to move on to number 2. Number 2 says, a ribbon is 2 feet and 6 inches long. If the ribbon were cut into 10 pieces, into 10-inch pieces, how many pieces would there be? Okay, so 2 feet, 6 inches. And we want to cut it into 10-inch pieces. Now, I'm going to do this with our equation, but there's another way of doing this, and I'm going to go over it with you in a second. 10-inch is to 1 piece. Okay, problem here is, this is not fully in inches, so we have to convert this to inches. 2 feet is to x inches, as 1 foot is 12 inches. So x times 1 is x, 2 times 12 is 24, so this is 24 inches, plus the 6 inches that are already there, so it's a total of 30 inches. So now I'm going to change this to be 30 inches. X times 10 is 10x, 30 times 1 is 30, I divide by 10 on both sides, and I get x equals 3 pieces. What was the other way of doing this? Well, you convert this 2 feet and 6 inches to inches, and then you could just divide it by 10. So if you saw that and you did it that way, perfect. But if you were not able to see that, then you can always just plug it into our equation, and you'll get it anyway, okay? The reason I use this equation again and again is so that you have something familiar that you can kind of plug most things into, okay? So let's move on. Number 3, it says, Chris got a job cleaning pools over the summer because he's saving up money to buy a car. He earns $40 for every pool he cleans and cleans an average of 8 pools a day. Here's our rate, 8 pools a day. How many days does Chris have to work to save up $2,400? So we're looking for the number of days. How much does he do per day? 8 pools a day. How much does he earn for every pool he cleans? $40. So the question is, how much does he make in one day? So 8 pools, So here, we're actually going to do 8 pools times 40. Why? Because we want to see how much does he earn a day. If he does $40 for every pool and 8 pools in a day, 8 times 0 is 0. 8 times 4 is 32. He earns $320 a day. So $320 for one day. How many days will it take to earn $2,400? All this information here is here to help you organize it to get the answer, okay? So 320 times x is 320x. 1 times 2400 is 2400. I'm going to divide it by 320 on each side. And when I do that, I can eliminate a 0. So I'm left with 240 divided by 32. So how many times does 32 go into 24? Let's say 7. Sorry, not into 24. Into 240, let's say 7 times. So 32 times 7, we're going to work that out. 7 times 2 is 14, carry the 1. 7 times 3 is 21, plus 1, 224. So let's subtract it. 10 minus 4 is 6, 3 minus 2 is 1. So we have left over. So 7 days is not enough. We have to bump it up to 8 days. Okay? All right, I hope you got that. Let me go ahead and move on to number 4. So it says, number 4, Henry drove from Jefferson to Alexandria, a distance of 250 miles. He then drove from Alexandria to Weston, which is 50 miles away from Alexandria. If it took him 4 hours to complete the entire trip, what was his speed if he was traveling at a constant speed? Okay, so for this, I like to make like a little graph. So he started at Jefferson, he went to Alexandria, and then he went to Weston. So from Jefferson to Alexandria, it was 250 miles. And from Alexandria to Weston, it was 50 miles. So we're going to add those up to see his total distance, 300 miles. So if it took him 4 hours to complete it, the entire trip, what was his speed? How do we report speed? Speed is miles per hour, which is a rate, miles for every 1 hour. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to set up our equation with the information that we know. Miles and hours. What do we know about miles? He traveled 300 of them, and it took him 4 hours. So I want to know how many miles does he travel in 1 hour. 4 times x is 4x. 300 times 1 is 300. I'm going to divide by 4. And when I divide by 4, 4 goes into 30 7 times. Bring down the 0. 4 goes into 20 5 times. I have nothing left over. So x is 75 miles for every 1 hour. You see, this one was a little bit different. Another way of doing this that you could have done it, I'll show you now real quick, is you could have done 300 miles in 4 hours. Well, how do I make this 1 hour? I divide by 4. And whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. And that would have given me the same answer. Okay? But if you didn't catch that right away, you can just set it up in our equation, and that helps you find the answer no matter what. So that equation is there to just help you when you get stuck. So if you're not sure, okay, it's okay, let me just put it into my equation. Okay? Number 5. A passenger plane made a trip to New York and back. On the trip, there, it flew 432 miles per hour. And on the return trip, it went 480 miles per hour. How long did the trip there take if the return trip took 9 hours? Okay, so this trip, start at point A, goes to New York City, okay? And when it's flying there, it goes 432 miles per hour. That is a rate. When it flies back, it goes 480 miles per hour. And this took 9 hours. If I have 480 miles per hour and 9 hours, can I know the number of miles? Yes, I can. So let me set it up. 480 miles for every 1 hour. That's what I do with my rate. And then I'm going to do, I don't know how many miles, but I do know it takes 9 hours. So 1 times x is x, and 480 times 9, we're going to figure out here, 0, 72, so I'm going to carry the 7. 9 times 4 is 36, plus 7 is 43. So 4,320 miles. What is the question asking me for? How long did the trip there take? Well, now that I have the speed over there and the number of miles, that's the distance, I can use my equation again. But this time I'm going to use this new rate. 432 miles for every 1 hour. It travels 4,320 miles, but we don't know how long it takes. So now I'm going to cross multiply. Let me make some space. 432 times x is 432x. 1 times 4,320 is 4,320. I'm going to divide by 432. So now 432 goes into 4,320. How many times does 432 go into 432? 1 time. I'm going to subtract. That gives me 0. But I'm not done. I still have to bring down this 0. 432 goes into 0 0 times. Now I'm done. So x equals 10 hours. And there we go. Okay, that one was similar to the last one. So, not bad. All right, I'm going to make some space, and I'm going to move on to number 6. Number 6 says, there are 156 people taking the ASVAB exam on Thursday morning. If each examination room has 25 computers, how many rooms will be needed to accommodate all of the people taking the exam? So, I'm going to look at the total, 156 people, 25 computers per room. That's my rate. 25 computers for every 1 room. How many computers we need? 1 per person, so 156 computers. We don't know how many rooms that'll be. So 25 times x is 25x. 1 times 156 is 156. I'm going to divide on each side by 25, so I can cancel this out and get the x by itself. And I'm going to do 156 divided by 25. So 25 times, I'm going to say 6, is going to be about 150. So 6 times 5 is 30, carry the 3. 6 times 2 is 12 plus 3 is 15. So 6, 156 minus 150 is 6. So I would have to add a 0 and bring it down. But guess what? That makes it more than 6 rooms now. 6 rooms is not enough. That means that if I have 6 rooms with 25 computers, I can accommodate 150 people, and there'll be 6 people left over. Okay? So in reality, I don't need 6 rooms, I need 7 rooms, because that 7th room will have the additional 6 people. And that's why my answer is 7 and not 6. Okay? Alright, so that one takes a little bit of critical thinking. You have to make sure you are stopping and thinking about what you're saying, what you're answering, okay? So number 7 says, Kylie left school and traveled toward her friend's house at an average speed of 30 kilometers per hour. Matt left at the exact same time and traveled in the opposite direction with an average speed of 50 kilometers per hour. Find the number of hours Matt needs to travel before they are 400 kilometers apart. So they start at the same point. Kylie goes in one direction at 30 kilometers per hour. And Matt goes in the other direction and goes 50 kilometers per hour. If I add them, every hour, they are exactly 80 kilometers apart. Every hour. That is my new rate. What is the question asking me for? The number of hours they need to travel before they are 400 kilometers apart. So, my rate is 80 kilometers for every 1 hour. And I'm going to see how long it takes 400 kilometers, x hours. 80 times x, 80x. 1 times 400, 400. Divide by 80, divide by 80. I can isolate my x, but look at that. I get to get rid of a 0. I get to cross it out. 40 divided by 8 is 5 hours. And there we go. I like these distance questions to always do something like this. Okay, so it's easy to visualize. Because sometimes those distance questions, a plane leaves a place, and it sounds so confusing. But if you try it out real quick, it's easy to see what's actually happening. Okay? All right? Okay, so let's do number 8. Number 8 says, a flight leaves Jamestown heading north at a speed of 400 miles per hour. Another flight leaves at the same time from Jamestown, heading south, or in the opposite direction, at a speed of 300 miles per hour. If both flights leave at 11 a.m., at what time will the 2 planes be exactly 2,100 miles apart? So we're looking for a time, at what time, 2,100 miles apart. Okay, so they're both traveling. We have to look at what distance they get apart from each other every hour, and that gives us a new rate. So we start at Jamestown. One of them is heading north at 400 miles per hour. And the other one is heading south at 300 miles per hour. So what do we get? We add them, and that is 700 miles per hour. So they are getting 700 miles further from each other every single hour. At what time will they be 2,100 miles apart? Well, if they are apart 700 miles every 1 hour, 2,100 miles will take X amount of hours. Okay? We use the information and we set it up. If we want to know the hours, we compare in a certain number of miles, then we compare the hour to the mile. Okay? 700 times x is 700x. 1 times 2100 is 2100. We're going to divide it by 700 on each side. Look at that. I can eliminate 2 zeros, and it becomes 21 divided by 7, which I know is 3. This is 3 hours. What is the question asking us for? At what time, Will? Well, they started at 11 a.m. What's 11 a.m. plus 3 hours? 12 p.m., 1 p.m., 2 p.m. They will be apart 2100 miles at 2 p.m. Okay? I hope you got that. When you're ready, I'm going to move on to number 9. It says, Lauren read a 360-page book in 12 hours. At this rate, how much time will it take her to read a 600-page book? So she did 360 pages in 12 hours. How much time? So we compare it to the hours. 600 pages. Super straightforward. 360 pages, 12 hours, 600 pages, x hours. Now let's cross multiply. 360 times x is 360x. 12 times 600, let's do the math. 2 times 0, 0, 2 times 0, 0, 2 times 6 is 12. Placeholder 0. 1 times 0, 0, 1 times 0, 0, 1 times 6 is 6. 0, 0, 2, 7. So now I'm going to divide by 360 so I can get the x by itself. And when I do that, I get to eliminate a 0. So now I'm going to do 720 divided by 36. 36 goes into 72 2 times. 36 times 2 is 72. 72 minus 72 is 0. But I have to bring down a 0 still. So 36 goes into 0, 0 times. 36 times 0, 0. Nothing else to bring down. So x equals 20 hours. Okay? I hope you got that. When you're ready, I'm going to move on to the next one. Number 10. It says, a ribbon is 5 feet and 6 inches long. If the ribbon were cut into 3-inch pieces, how many pieces would there be? This is a lot like a question we did earlier, so if you want to hit pause here and do the question on your own, you're more than welcome to. But I'm going to go ahead and explain how to do this. So 5 feet, 6 inches is to x pieces, as 3 inches is to 1 piece. Because that's what we're trying to find out. If we know that 3 inches is 1 piece, how many pieces will we get out of 5 feet, 6 inches? That's what the question is asking us for. But we have feet here, and it needs to be in inches, right? This is piece, piece, so this is be inch, inch. So 5 feet is x inches, as 1 foot is 12 inches. Cross multiply. X times 1 is x, 5 times 12 is 60. Plus the 6 right here. So it's going to be 66 inches. So now that I've done that, I'm going to write 66 inches up here, and now I'm ready to cross multiply. X times 3, 3x. 1 times 66, 66. I'm going to divide by 3 so I can get the x by itself. Okay? 66 goes into, divided by 3. 3 goes into 6 2 times. 3 times 2 is 6. Bring down the other 6. 3 goes into 6 2 times. 3 times 2 is 6. Nothing left over, no more numbers to bring down. So x equals 22 pieces. Okay, awesome. So now that I've done that, I'm ready to move on to number 11. Number 11 says, Caitlin typed up a document at the speed of 85 words per minute. Ooh, there goes my rate. If it took her 15 minutes to type up the document, and each page has 250 words. Wow, there's a lot here. They give us the time to type up the document. Each page has 250 words. That looks like another rate. How many pages long was the document? Okay, we want to know the number of pages. That's what the question is asking us for. And it gives us a rate that says each page has 250 words. So it's 250 words for 1 page, right? And we want to know the number of pages. But what do we need to know to be able to find that? The number of words. Well, do we know how many words there are? No, it doesn't tell us. It just says that she types at 85 words per minute and that she was typing for 15 minutes. Does that give us the number of words? Yes, it does. So we're going to use this first to find the number of words and then plug it in here. Okay? Here we go. 1 times x, x. 85 times 15, let's do the math. 5 times 5, 25, carry the 2. 5 times 8, 40 plus 2, 42. Placeholder 0. 1 times 5, 5. 1 times 8, 8. 5, 7, 12. So there are 1,275 words. Okay? So now I plug that in over here. Now I can cross multiply. 250, let me make some space here. 250 times x is 250x. Equals 1 times 1275, 1275. I'm going to divide by 250, divide by 250, and I'm going to do 1275 divided by 250. Okay, so 250 cannot go into 127, so I have to do the full 1275. So I know that 250 times 4, because I'm thinking of quarters. 25 times 4 is 100. So 250 times 4 is 1,000, okay? So let's try 250 times 5. 5 times 0 is 5. 5 times 5, 25, carry the 2. Oh no, what am I doing? 5 times 0 is not 5. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry about that. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 5 is 25, carry the 2. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. So it's actually pretty close. I'm going to put in a 5 here. I'm going to do 1250, 25. So I put a decimal. I bring down the 0. 250 goes into 250 one time. Okay, so 5.1 pages. But we can't have 5.1 pages, and 5 pages is not enough, so we have to take it up 1 and go to 6 pages. Okay? All right, I hope you got that. When you're ready, let's move on to number 12. Number 12 says, water is being pumped into a container at a rate of 6.5 gallons per minute. If each container has a capacity of 52 gallons, how long will it take for water to be pumped into 30 containers? Okay, so it's asking us for the time for 30 containers. So x time let's say minutes, because this is minutes, okay? X minutes is 30 containers. Well, how much time or how many minutes does it do? One container. Okay, we don't know that. It doesn't tell us that. But it does tell us that it pumps 6.5 gallons per minute and that each container has 52 gallons. That's going to tell us how much time it'll take to do one container. One container is 52 gallons. How many minutes does it take? If it's 6.5 gallons for every 1 minute. So let's cross multiply. X times 6.5 is 6.5x. 52 times 1 is 52. If I divide by 6.5. Okay, 52 divided by 6.5. I can't have a decimal out here. I have to move it over 1, which means this decimal, invisible decimal at the end, I also need to move over 1 and fill it with 0, okay? So this becomes 65 into 520. So I can't do 65 goes into 52. I have to kind of estimate this one. Now, this is kind of close to 60, okay? And 60 times 7 is 420. 60 times 8 is 480. 60 times 9 is 540. So I think 65 times 8 is pretty close. 8 times 5 is 40. Carry the 4. 8 times 6 is 48. Plus 4, 52. Look at that. Exactly 8. Okay, so it takes how long? 8 minutes to fill up one container. So I can plug that in over here now. 8 minutes to do one container. So now, let's cross multiply this original equation here. 1 times x is x. And 30 times 8. 8 times 0, 0. 8 times 3, 24. 240 minutes. There it is. Okay, I hope you got it. Remember, if you have a question, feel free to leave a comment below and I'll be more than happy to answer that question for you. Let's look at number 13. It says, a flight leaves Los Angeles heading north at a speed of 300 miles per hour. Another flight leaves at the same time from Los Angeles heading south at a speed of 350 miles per hour. If both flights leave at 9 p.m., at what time will the two planes be exactly 7,800 miles apart? So we're going to start in LA, right? Head north, 300 miles per hour, and south, 350 miles per hour. So that means that every hour, they are 650 miles further from each other, okay? What I want to know is, if the flights leave at 9, at what time will they be this apart? So I'm looking for the time of certain miles apart. So x hours is to 7,800 miles. Well, I know that in 1 hour, they travel 650 miles. So let's cross multiply. 650x, 1 times 7,800 is 7,800. I'm going to divide by 650 on both sides. I'm going to cancel out these zeros. And now I have 780 divided by 65. 65 goes into 78 one time. A minus 5 is 3. 7 minus 6 is 1. I'm going to bring down a 0. 65 goes into 130. It's going to be 2 times. 2 times 5 is 10. Carry the 1. 2 times 6 is 12. Plus 1 is 13. So this is actually a 2. 130. 130, 0. There's nothing else to bring down, so x equals 12 hours. Okay? If they started at 9 p.m., what time is it? 12 hours later. 9 a.m. Okay? All right, perfect. So I hope you got that. If you didn't, that's okay. Just go back and look at it again, or just ask a question below, and I'll be more than happy to help you with that. Now let's look at number 14. Number 14 is similar to the question we did earlier, so if you struggled with it and you want to give this one a try, hit pause and do it now. If you're ready, I'll go ahead and review it with you. It says, a shipment of 2,800 pounds of peaches needs to be sorted into 128-ounce bags. That means one bag is 128 ounces. How many bags will be needed to package the entire shipment? So we're looking for number of bags. So we can set this up using our rates. One bag is 128 ounces. So 128 ounces is one bag. How many bags, or X bags, will equal 2,800 pounds. But this is ounces and this is pounds, so we have to convert it. 2,800 pounds is to X ounces, when 1 pound is 16 ounces. So X times 1 is X, 2,800 times 16. 6 times 0, 0, 0. 6 times 8 is 48, so I'm going to carry the 4. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 4 is 16. Placeholder 0. 1 times 0 is 0, 1 times 0 is 0, 1 times 8 is 8, 1 times 2 is 2. Now I'm going to add them up. 0, 0, 8. 6 plus 8 is 14, carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 2 is 4. So 44,800. So now that I have that, I can replace it over here. And now it's ounces and ounces. So let me make some space. 128 times x is 128x. 1 times 44,800 is 44,800. I'm going to divide by 128 so I can get the x by itself. And now I do this. 128 goes into 448. I'm going to say 3 times. Let's try it. 3 times 8, 24. Carry the 2. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8. 3 times 1 is 3. So 384. I put a 3 up here. Okay? Now I'm going to subtract. 8 minus 4, 4. 4 minus 8, I can't do it, so I borrow. 14 minus 8, 6. 128 goes into 640. I'm not going to say 6 times because that's way too big, so let's try 5. 5 times 8 is 40. Carry the 4. 5 times 2 is 10 plus 4 is 14. Carry the 1. And 5 times 1 is 5 plus 1 is 6. So yeah, it's exactly 640. But I'm not done. I still have another 0 to bring down. So 128 goes into 0, 0 times. Now I'm finished. So my answer is 350 bags. Okay, hopefully you are now a rate expert. When you're ready, let's move on to number 15. It says, a ribbon is 5 feet and 4 inches long. If the ribbon were cut into 4-inch pieces, how many pieces would there be? Okay, we are looking for 4-inch pieces. Sorry. 4 inches is 1 piece. How many pieces will 5 feet 4 inches be? Problem here is this is inches and this is feet and inches. So we convert this to inches. 5 feet is to x inches, as 1 foot is to 12 inches. X times 1 is x, 5 times 12 is 60. So now we add the additional 4, 64 inches. Where do we get the 4? Right here. That's where we got that 4. We want to put them all together. So now this is 64 inches. Now let's cross multiply that. That is done. Okay? X times 4 is 4x, and 64 times 1 is 64. I'm going to divide by 4 on each side so I can isolate that x. And 64 divided by 4. 4 goes into 6 one time. 6 minus 4 is 2. 4 goes into 24 6 times. 24 minus 24 is 0. There's nothing else to bring down. My answer is 16 pieces. Okay, we're done with that quiz. I hope that made sense to you. If you do have any questions about the way I explain something, feel free to just leave a comment below and I'll be happy to help you. Hi, my name is Natalia Cardona. Today I will be reviewing with you algebra word problems. I'm going to go over several examples, so make sure to look at the first explanation I give you. When we get to the next example, hit pause and give it a try on your own. That way you can get plenty of practice and work out the kinks instead of just watching me do all the questions for you. Hope you got it. I'm excited to get started with you, so let's go. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with question number 1. Question number 1 reads, the sum of 2 digits is 72. One number is 5 times the other. What are the two numbers? So, like I told you, these are algebra word problems. Basically what that means is that we're going to read the word problems and make algebra equations from them, okay? Algebra equations are equations that we write with like x, y, n, a, b. We use variables to represent things that we do not know. So when we do an algebra word problem, we go back into the word problem and we try to write an equation based on the words in the word problem because all the words are giving us information. So what we're going to do is we're going to pay special attention to the words in this problem. It says the sum of 2 digits is 72. When we don't know something, we have an unknown, we call it a variable. So if it's 2 of them, let's do x and y. And it says that the sum of them is 72, and sum means plus. So x plus y, whatever we see in is, this is an equal sign, is 72. So the sum, x plus y, of 2 digits, x and y, is equal sign 72. Now let's do the same thing with the second sentence. It says one number is 5 times the other. One number, so this is one of them, is equal sign 5 times the other. 5 times y. Okay, now that we've done this, what we want to do is substitution, which means we're going to take one of the variables, solve for it, which means just get it by itself on one side of the equal sign, and plug it into the other equation. Well, that's already done for us here, because the x is by itself on this side of the equal sign. So now we're going to replace in this first equation, every x that we see, we're going to replace it with 5y, because x is 5y. So our equation says x plus y, we're going to rewrite it as 5y, because that is x, plus y, equals 72. Now that I've done that, I'm going to combine like terms. 5y plus y is 6y, and that is equal to 72. We're going to divide by 6 on both sides because we want to get the y by itself. Y equals 12, because 6 times 12 is 72. Now let's go back and find out what the question is asking us for. It says, what are the two numbers? So we need to know both of them. Right now we only know one. How do we solve for the second one? Well, we plug this in to our equation. So x equals 5 times y. Well, y is 12. So we're going to replace the y with 12. So x equals 5 times 12. X equals 60. Okay? Answer is B. All right. I'm going to go over another one with you. Hopefully you got it after this one. This one's a little more complicated, but we're going to do it together. And then I'm going to have you do number 3 on your own, okay? So number 2, Helen's brother is twice as old as Helen. In 20 years, Helen will be 2/3 as old as her brother. How old is Helen now? So let's call Helen H and her brother B, so it's easy to tell them apart. So it says, remember, we're breaking down each question word by word. Helen's brother, B, Helen's brother, B, is, equal sign, twice as old as Helen. So twice is 2 times, 2H, 2 times Helen. Okay, we got our first equation done. Let's look at the second one. In 20 years, so H plus 20, right? Helen by itself, H by itself is Helen now, her age now. If it says in 20 years, then we have to say, okay, H plus 20. So Helen in 20 years will be, this also means is, so it's an equal sign. 2/3 as old as, whenever we're finding like a fraction of something, we multiply. So 2/3 as old as, we're going to multiply her brother, B. But this is her brother in 20 years, B plus 20. If we would have left it at B, guess what? We would be saying she's twice as old, she's 2/3 her brother's age now. And that's not what we want. This is a scenario that's 20 years in the future. So now that we've done this, we're going to, remember, look for our equation that already has B equals or H equals or whatever, and we're going to plug that into our other equation. So wherever we see B, we're going to replace it with 2H, and I see B right here. So I'm going to replace that with 2H. So H plus 20 equals 2/3 2H plus 20. Okay, let's distribute this, and let's start solving for H. Now, because this is outside of the parentheses, we have to multiply everything inside the parentheses by it. So H plus 20 equals 4H plus 3 plus 40 over 3. Notice that I only multiply the tops. The bottom stays the same. Okay? Now I'm going to minus 20 on each side. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm not. Let's minus 40 over 3. Okay, so let's do 20 over 1. I'm going to do it over here, minus 40 over 3. I put it as 20 over 1 because any whole number is just over 1. I need to give them the same denominator, so I multiply by 3 top and bottom. So this becomes 60 over 3 minus 40 over 3. 60 minus 40 is 20 over 3. So this turns into h plus 20 over 3 equals 4h over 3. Well, now I have to do minus h. So let's do 4h over 3 minus h over 1. I multiply by 3. 4 minus 3 is 1h over 3. So I don't have space. I'm going to get rid of this up here to make some more space for us. I'm going to rewrite my equation. So I have 20 over 3 equals h over 3. And I'm going to multiply by 3 because I want to get rid of these fractions. And I'm left with 20 equals h. So Helen is 20 years old right now. What is the question asking us for? How old is Helen now? So I know that my answer is complete. Remember, when we're doing this, we have to go back and read the question. So if you think you're finished, you're not really finished until you go back and you read the question and you make sure that you are answering the question, okay? All right, with that said, go ahead and give number 3 a try, okay? All right, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. If you need a little more time, don't worry, just hit pause. All right, good luck. Okay, welcome back. Let me go ahead and go over this one with you. It says the sum of two numbers is 57. If one number is one more than 3 times the other, what are the two numbers? So, once again, we have two unknown numbers. We're adding them together. The sum of them is 57. So we're going to do x plus y equals 57. Okay? And let's look at the second sentence. It says if one number is one more than, so 1 plus, 3 times the other number, 3 times the other number. The question is asking us for the two numbers. Okay? There's so many resets. You can see A. Okay, now we're going to substitute, which means this is already solved for x, and we can plug that over here. Actually, not there, because that's the y. We would plug it into the x. Now let's rewrite this equation. 1 plus 3y plus y equals 57. 1 plus 4y equals 57. I'm going to do minus 1, because I really want to isolate that y. And to fully isolate the y, I have to divide it by 4. So 4 goes into 56. 4 goes into 5 one time. 5 minus 4 is 1. Bring down that 6. 4 goes into 16 4 times. I know that y equals 14. Now, what is the question asking us for? Are we done? We're not done because it's asking for the two numbers. So we have to come back over here, okay? And we have to say x equals 1 plus 3 times y. And y is 14. Well, 14 times 3, 3 times 4 is 12, carry the 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. 1 plus 42, which is 43. So 43 and 14, guess what? Our answer is C. Okay? Hope that makes sense to you. If it didn't, hit pause, rewind, go back, do whatever you gotta do. Remember, this is a tool to help you study for the ASVAB, so use it however you need to, okay? All right, go ahead and give number 4 a try. And I'll be back in a little bit. If 30 seconds is not enough, feel free to hit pause and really work out the question before I give you the answer. Okay, good luck. Okay, welcome back. I hope you got it. If not, don't worry. I'm going to go over it with you. You can always hit rewind and try it again, okay? So the question says, Aaron is 8 years less than twice Joe's age. The sum of their ages is 40. How old is Aaron? So Aaron is 8 years less than twice Joey's age. So the way this reads, you would think 8 minus 2J, but it says that we're subtracting 8 from twice Joey's age. And this is not subtracting 8 from twice Joey's age. This is subtracting Joey's age times 2 from 8. So guess what? We have to rewrite this. That doesn't work. This needs to be 2J minus 8. Okay? So if that doesn't make sense to you, hit rewind, go back for a second, hear me say it again. But if it still doesn't, then all you need to remember is that when it says less than, or it wants you to subtract, you flip them. Okay? So A equals 2J minus 8. The second one, the sum of their ages is 40. So A plus J is 40. All right, perfect. So let's start plugging stuff in. We're going to put this over here. So 2J minus 8 plus J equals 40. 2J plus J is 3J minus 8 is 40. Plus 8, because we really want to isolate that J. 3J equals 48. Divide by 3. 3 goes into 48. 3 goes into 4 one time. 4 minus 3 is 1. Bring down that 8. 3 goes into 18 6 times. 18 minus 18 is 0. So J equals 16. Now, does that mean my answer is 16? It is not. The question is asking for Aaron's age. So we have to take this, plug it in over here. So A equals 2 times 16 minus 8, which is 32 minus 8, which is 24. So this is not the correct answer, but this is. Okay? Remember, always go back and read what the question is asking you for. Okay?
Okay.
From the question. Okay? So the key is just understanding like what certain words translate to as an equation. So I'm going to read the sentence and write the equation as I read it. So Aaron, I'm going to call Aaron A. So Aaron is, the word is means equals. Okay?
Okay.
8 years less than twice Joe's age. So 8 years less than twice Joe's age. That means if I do twice Joe's age and I subtract from it, that will give me a number that is equal to Aaron's age.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, good. And then in the second sentence, I see the sum of their ages. That means Aaron plus Joe is equals
40.
40.
40.
Okay. So once we get there, it's pretty easy. What you have to do is, now that you have A equals something, you can do something we call substitution, which means wherever I see an A, I can substitute it with 2j minus 8. So here in this equation, I see an A, I'm going to substitute it with 2j minus 8. So A plus j equals 40.
Okay.
Then I combine like terms, 3j minus 8 equals 40. I try to isolate the j. I divide by 3. I get j equals 16. Now, what does the question ask me for? It asks me for Aaron's age, but I have Joe's age. So how do I get Aaron's age? Here. Aaron is 2 times whatever Joe is minus 8. So that's 2 minus 8. Aaron, 24 years old.
Okay.
So let's practice the different parts of this. Okay. So because it's different steps that you have to get used to. So let's practice writing the equations first. Okay.
Okay.
So, okay, hold on. Let me write. So Jason is 4 more. You see? Okay, so with this new one, what I want you to do is I want you to write the 2 equations. That's all we're going to do. We're just going to write the 2 equations.
Okay. Jason is 4 more than twice Anna's age.
Right.
The sum of the ages is 60.
Good. So write the first one. What does the first equation look like?
Okay. Jason is 4 more than twice Anna's age. Okay. Jason equals.
Okay, so Jason equals.
4 more twice Anna's age.
Right.
But also no. Okay.
But what is that going to look like as an equation? That's the hardest part, I think. Right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. But, okay. Now, I don't know Anna's age.
So what do we call her? We just put.
Okay. I want to call her A.
Good. So then it would be J equals what?
Okay. J equals 4 twice Anna's age.
So this is 4 more than. So we're adding 4.
It's 4 more than twice.
Yeah.
Okay. J equals 4 plus 2.
Okay.
Twice
Anna's age means 2A.
Okay.
Times Anna.
Thank you.
There
Okay.
you go.
Okay. Plus 2A.
Good. There you go.
Okay. Now,
The second one is.
the second one is Anna's A equals.
Wait, no, hold on. The second one says the sum of their
Okay.
ages.
So, okay. The sum of the ages is 60.
Right?
Okay. That's my confusion here. Now, how to
How do we do the sum of their ages?
what you say?
How do we do the sum of their ages? What is that going to look like?
Okay. Jason is 4 more twice Anna's age.
Well, we're focused on the second one now. The sum of their ages. The sum of their ages means Jason and Anna. If we sum them up or we add them together, this is 60. So if we see sum, we know we're adding that together.
Okay.
Is 60. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, let's do another one. Like I said, writing the equation, I think, is one of the hardest parts of this. So we're just going to practice writing that part. We're not going to worry about the math just yet.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, go ahead and give this one a try. Just writing the equations.
Okay. Susan is 3 less than twice Lily's age. If,
Good.
if the sum of the age is 28. Okay. Susan is 3. Okay, Susan equals 3.
Okay, 3.
Minus 2 Lily's age.
Okay, almost. But this is very important. Whenever it says that something is less than something, the subtraction comes afterwards. So this should actually be 2L minus 2. Because it's 3 less than something. So I'll give you an example. If 3 minus 2L, let's say L is 4. So it's 3 minus 2 times 4 is 8. And this one would be 8 minus 3. 3 minus 8 is negative 5. 8 minus 3 is positive 5. Changing the order when we're subtracting makes a big difference. So it's important that when it tells us less than something, we write it as that something and then minus whatever it is. Okay?
Okay.
So let me rewrite this for you. So Susan equals 2L minus 3, which is 3 less than twice Lily's age. Right? And then second half?
Okay, the second time. Susan plus Lily's equals 28.
Excellent. Okay, we're getting better.
Yeah.
Let's do it again. Once you get this part, the other part won't be so bad.
Okay. Stay here, Ben.
Okay, go ahead and give that one a try.
Okay, Clara is 5 more than half Peter's age. If the sum of the ages is 36. Okay, Clara equals.
Okay.
Clara equals 5 by equals 5.
Equals 5.
By.
Like multiply?
Yes, multiply.
This is 5 more than.
Oh, okay, thank you. 5 more than plus.
Okay, good. So 5 plus.
Okay. 1, 2, or
half of Peter's age. We can either take Peter and divide him by 2, or we can do 1/2 Peter.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Okay, Peter divided by 2.
Okay, perfect. There you go. That's your first equation.
Thank you. The second thing is Clara plus Peter's equals 36.
Oh, sorry. Clara plus Peter equals 36. Okay, good. All right. So now let's do an actual question.
Okay.
Do I have one? I could have sworn I had more questions. Okay, never mind. Already knew one for you.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, go ahead and write your equations and try to solve it as far as you can go.
Okay. Timothy is 5 less than half of Jack's age. The sum of the ages is 49. How old is Timothy? Timothy equals 5 minus Jack's age divided by 2, or minus.
So remember, when we do less than, we have to do the Jack divided by 2 and then minus 5.
Yes. Okay. Jack's age divided by 2 minus 5.
Good. So I'm assuming it looks like this.
Yes.
Okay.
The second thing, Timothy's and Jack's age equals 49.
Okay. So Timothy plus Jack equals 49.
49. How old is Timothy? Okay.
All right. So just let me know when you worked out or when you're ready to do it.
Okay. Let me do it now. Okay.
Okay. So what was your first step after this?
Okay. I divide Jack 8.
Okay, so let me help you. Now, what we see here is that this is equal to t. T is equal to something. So wherever I see t, I can replace it with this. So I'm going to do that to my second equation. Wherever I see a t in the second equation, I'm going to replace it with this. And why am I going to do that? Because if I make everything j, then I can solve for j. But if I have t and j together, I can't solve for n. You see? So I'm replacing it. So here, this t, I'm going to rewrite it as j over 2 minus 5. So I wrote this part. Plus j, I wrote this part, equals 49. I wrote this part. Okay? So j over 2 plus j gives me 1.5 j. Because it's 1.5. So 1.5 minus 5 equals 49. So I'm going to plus 5, and I get 1.5 j, 54. I'm going to put that over here so I have more space. Okay, so now that I've done that, I can divide by 1.5 on both sides. And I'm left with j equals. Okay?
Okay.
So now, what I'm going to do is, I have this weird 54 divided by 1.5. So let me put some space so that I can work that out. So 54 divided by 1.5. Okay, first of all, when I'm dividing with a mixed number, I have to turn it into an improper fraction. So I'm going to do times plus. So 2 times 1, 2, plus 1, 3. So this becomes 54 divided by 3 over 2. Okay? Now that I'm just dividing by regular fraction, I know that when I divide by fraction, I take the second one and I flip it. So this becomes 54 times 2 over 3. I'm going to put this 54 over 1, so it's just easy to see what gets multiplied, right? So 54 times 2 is an 8, 10, so 108, over 1 times 3 is 3. So now I have to do 108 divided by 3. So 3 goes into 10 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. 10 minus 9 is 1. Bring down the 8. 3 goes into 18 6 times. Good, and then like that. So j equals 36. Okay, now we've gone through this whole process, but what is the question actually asking us for? How old is Timothy? So we haven't actually found the answer yet. So I'm going to go back to my original equations. And in my original equation, I said Timothy is 5 less than half of Jack's age, j over 2 plus 5. And the sum of their ages, Timothy plus Jack equals 49. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to replace Jack with 36. So Timothy plus 36 equals 49. I'm going to subtract 36. 9 minus 6 is 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. So I get Timothy equals 13, which means he's 13 years old. Okay, that was a tough one. I'm going to admit that because it has a fraction. So I'm sorry about that. Let's try another one that doesn't have a fraction, okay? As a matter of fact, let me come back to you. And let me just do the white screen here. Okay, here we go. Okay, so let's try another one. Yeah? Here we go. So Melanie is 10 less than twice Tiffany's age. The sum of their ages is 44. What is... Okay, go ahead and give that a try.
Okay. Hello?
You got it?
Yes, I think.
Okay, let's do it. So Melanie, let's see, Melanie is 10 less than twice Tiffany's age. So twice Tiffany's age minus.
Minus 10.
Yes. Is that what you got?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So the sum of their ages, so Melanie plus Tiffany equals 44.
44.
So far, so good?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So then here, what I want to do is I want to kind of combine these equations so that instead of having m and t, I can replace one of the letters, one of the variables, right, in one of the equations. So I only have one. So I see here m equals this. So what I'm going to do is wherever I see an m, I'm going to replace it with 2t minus 8. So here I'm going to replace this, sorry, not minus 8, minus 10, with 2t minus 10. And then I keep writing the equation, plus t equals 44. Okay, so now that I've done that, I combine the like terms. 2t plus t, 3t, excellent, equals 44, plus t, sorry, not t, plus 10, plus 10.
Plus 10, plus 10.
Good, 3t equals 54. Okay, is this what you got so far on your, how you did it?
Yes.
Excellent.
But,
Okay.
Excuse me.
Of course.
Okay, here I got a mistake. Okay, when I got 3t minus 10 equals 44, plus 10, plus 10. Okay, minus 10 plus 10. Where's that result? That's my confusion.
Okay, so let me just make sure we're on the same page. Did you get this line correct? 2t minus 10 plus t equals 44?
Yes.
Okay, good. So then here, you t minus 10 equals 44?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then your question is, why do I do plus 10 on both sides?
Yes, yes.
So in algebra, when we try to, the goal in algebra is to solve for the unknown variable, okay? And when we have an unknown variable, the way we solve it is we get it by itself on one side of the equal sign. So here, my goal is to get t by itself, okay? And I can't get t by itself because I have 10 minus from it, I have 3 multiplied to it. So what I have to do to get rid of those is I have to do the opposite. So here, if the 10 is minus, I add 10. And when I add 10, what happens is negative 10 plus 10 is 0, and I eliminated the 10. Okay. And that's how I end up with 3. Let me go back a little bit.
Okay.
3 equals 54.
Okay, listen, I have another question. Okay, if I have 3t plus 10 equals 44.
Wait, so if you have 3t plus 10 equals 44,
yes,
you would minus a 10. Minus a 10.
Oh, okay. Everywhere I need to find the opposite.
Correct.
Yes.
It's like you're canceling it out.
Okay.
But you can't cancel it out completely. You can't just, it disappears. What happens is you do the same thing on one side of the equal sign as you do to the other. So it's almost like removing it to the other side.
Okay. Okay, you can continue.
Okay, perfect. I'm glad you're asking these questions. This is something that most people are confused about, so it's good that you're asking them. So here, 3 is multiplied to the t, right? So that's why we divide by 3. We do the opposite again. You see? So 3 over 3 gives me 1. That cancels the 3 out.
Okay.
And I'm left with t equals. And then we have to figure out what's 54 divided by 3. So 3 goes into 5 one time. 5 minus 3 is 2. Bring down the 4. 3 goes into 24 8 times. 24 minus 24 is 0. So t equals 18. That means Tiffany is 18 years old. But it's asking me for Melanie's age.
What is that Melanie's age?
Melanie is the other person. So I have to go back and I have to say, well, Melanie equals 2t minus 10, right? Yes. Or Melanie plus Tiffany equals 44. I think this one's easiest.
Okay.
So Melanie plus Tiffany, now we know is 18, equals 44. Okay, so what I did was I replaced the t with 18 because I now know t is equal to 18. And then here, once again, I do the opposite. Minus 18, minus 18.
Minus 18.
Right. When I do the opposite, it cancels that 18 out and I'm left with m by itself on this side of the equal sign. And then I subtract here. 14 minus 8 is 6. 3 minus 1 is 2. So now I know that Melanie is 26 years old.
Okay.
Is this making more sense?
Yes, it's okay.
Excellent.
I'm progress now.
Say it again?
I'm progress now.
Good. All right, let's do another one.
Okay.
Let me clear this. Okay. So let me do the math real quick. Hold on. Okay, after this one, I want to show you another one that is a little more challenging.
Okay.
But it's just to help you kind of look at more examples.
Okay.
All right, go ahead and give that one a try.
Okay.
I muted myself. I'm sorry about that.
No
Okay.
problem.
So Julian, let's see.
Is 5 less than twice Stephanie's age?
So
The sum
Julian is twice.
to Stephanie minus 5.
Excellent. And then
And
Julian plus Stephanie.
Julian plus Stephanie equals 80.
Excellent. Okay. So now,
So
what's
now,
the next?
okay, the next step are two Stephanies
Uh-huh.
minus 5
Huh?
plus Stephanie's
Mhm.
equals 80.
Excellent. So what you did was you replaced J with 2s minus 5 in this equation.
Yeah.
So add them. 3s minus 5 equals 80. And
The
then
opposite, plus 5. Plus
Excellent.
5
I'm going to do it over here. 3s equals 85. Divide by 3. What'd you
divided
get?
by 3. It's 12.
So
sorry.
85 divided by 3. 3 goes into 8.
2,
Good.
5, 25.
Well, that's weird. Hold on. 28. Oh, I messed up. I gave you bad numbers.
Oh, okay.
I'm so sorry.
No problem.
This should be. Sorry, hold on. I see it now. This should be 4 less than.
Okay.
Okay, so let me. Hold on. Let me go back for a second. So that means, did you get stuck? Did you end up getting like a weird decimal? Okay, so I'm so sorry about that. Sometimes that happens to me when I end up doing like
Okay.
questions off the top of my head. So 2L, not 2L. 2S, 2 minus 4.
Minus 4
So J
equals
plus S equals 80. Okay, then
2S
minus
plus
4.
S. Oh, sorry, minus 4 plus S equals 80.
Excellent. Then,
3S
uh-huh,
minus 4 equals 80. The opposite, minus 4 plus 4.
good.
3S equals 84.
Then
Divide,
we divide by 3.
simplify by 3.
Good. So 3 goes 8, 2.
2, 4, 8,
Excellent. So S equals 28.
28. Now, what
And
is the Julian's age?
Good. So Jillian plus 28 equals 80.
80. Opposite, minus 28.
Good.
Julian,
So I borrow 10 minus 8 is 2. 7 minus 2 is 5. So Jillian.
52.
Awesome. I'm so sorry about that confusion earlier.
No problem.
All
Sorry.
right, so let me go ahead and clear this. And I wanted to show you one last. We're not going to have time to go over the whole thing,
Okay.
but I do want to show you at least how to write it. So I'm not sure if it's these or these. No, that's not it. Okay, here it is. So it says Jane and Sylvia work as tutors at $25 and $28 per hour, respectively. 1 month, Jane worked 10 more hours than Sylvia. This line right here gives us our first equation. Jane, in 1 month, Jane worked 10 more hours than Sylvia. So Jane equals Sylvia plus 10.
10.
Okay? If their total income for the month was $3,430, how many hours did Jane work? So this is kind of confusing, but I want to kind of start explaining it to you. And if you want, when you log in tomorrow, I can explain it to you a little bit better with these harder questions, okay?
Okay.
So here, their total income is this, and J and S, the variables, represent the hours that they worked. Okay? To get their income, I have to multiply the hours by how much each one makes. Jane makes 25, Sylvia makes 28. So to write my second equation, I have to say Jane plus Sylvia, but I have to multiply how much they make. 25 Jane plus 28 Sylvia. And that equals 3430. Okay?
Okay.
This is the important part about these kinds of questions is understanding that the variable represents the number of hours. In the last one, the variable represented the years, how old they were, right? Years. Here, it represents the hours. And that's why in the second equation, we have to multiply by how much they make hourly. Okay? So that's just to kind of introduce you to the idea. If you want to screenshot this or take a picture of it so you can give it a try on your own, you're more than welcome to. And then we can keep going over it tomorrow. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Are you ready? Did you take a picture?
Yes, I got it.
Okay, perfect. So, Maxa, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope I get to see you tomorrow. We can continue reviewing this, okay?
Thank you.
No problem. Have a great day.
Thank you, same to you.
Thank you. Bye. Let's go ahead and review the questions for this quiz together. So the first question says, a movie theater sold 5 times as many children's tickets as adult tickets to a matinee show. If the total number of tickets sold was 132, how many children's tickets were sold? So let's start off always writing equations based on what the question says, right? So a movie theater sold 5 times as many children's as adults. So children's is 5 times adults. Okay, now, if the total number of tickets, so children plus adults, is 132. Total number of tickets sold was 132. Okay, so far so good. So now I can take this C equals 5A, and I can replace the C in the second equation with 5A, because C is equal to 5A. So this becomes 5A plus A equals 132. Now I just combine like terms and I solve. 6A equals 132. I divide by 6. 132 divided by 6. 6 times 2 is 12. Bring down to 2. 6 times 2 is 12. So adults equals 22. Now I'm looking for children's tickets sold. So I can come back to this first equation. C equals 5A. Okay, or C plus A equals 132. I'm actually going to use the second one. So C plus 22 equals 132. And I'm just going to minus. And I get C equals 110. So I'm looking for how many children's tickets were sold. That's why I solved for C. And the answer is 110. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the next one. So it says, the sum of 2 digits is 72. One number is twice the other. What are the two numbers? A very common tactic that people like to use is just kind of figure out like which answer choice fits both of these criteria. And if you want to do that, that's fine. But I'm going to do it the algebraic way so that we can kind of keep practicing the same steps that you would do for other kinds of questions. So when you say sum of 2 digits, we're talking about 2 unknown numbers. So I'm adding 2 unknown numbers, and they're going to add up to 72. And then the second sentence says one number, so one of them, is twice the other, or 2 times the other. Okay, so here we see the same scenario where x is equal to something, or just a single variable is equal to something, which means I can replace this in this equation. So I'm going to rewrite that first equation, 2y, because I replace the x, plus y equals 72. So 3y equals 72. I'm going to divide by 3, and 72 divided by 3, 7 minus 6 is 1, bring down to 2, and not to 4. Okay, so that means that y is 24. Now I'm looking for x. Well, I know that x is 2 times y, right? So x equals 24 times 2, which is 48. So this is my answer here. Okay. All right, awesome. Let's keep going. Number 3. Brian and Jess bought a gift for their father together. The gift was a total of $114. If Brian contributed twice as much money as Jess, how much did Jess spend? So Brian and Jess bought a gift together, and it was $114. So whatever Brian put in plus whatever Jess put in equals $114. If Brian contributed twice as much as Jess, so Brian is twice whatever Jess put in. The question is, how much did Jess spend? So we're going to look for what J is equal to. So here, once again, I can just replace this. 2J plus J equals 114. 3J equals 114. I'm going to divide by 3. And 114 divided by 3. 3 goes into 24 8 times. And Jess equals 38. And that's exactly what we're looking for. So that is our answer. Okay? Remember, whenever you solve for a variable, go back to the question and double check that that is what you're looking for. Because it could be that it's not. Because I could have said J equals 38, but maybe this said Brian, and then I would have to go back and solve for Brian. So just kind of keep that in mind, okay? All right, let's keep going. Next question. It says, an unknown number is subtracted from 12, multiplied by 10, and increased by 8. The result is 68. What is the unknown number? Okay, so this kind of question is actually different from the last couple questions we've done. So we have to go step by step in the question itself. So an unknown number is subtracted from 12. Subtracted from 12. So that means 12 minus some unknown number, which means x, multiplied by 10, and increased by 8. And the result is 68. Okay, so there's a couple of things we can do here. First, I would minus the 8. So I can simplify this a little bit. So I got 60 here. Another thing I can do is I can either distribute this 10, or I can just divide the whole thing by 10 and do it to both sides. To me, dividing the whole thing by 10 actually is a little bit easier. So now I have 12 minus x equals 6. So minus 12, negative x equals negative 6, x equals positive 6. And there we go. All right. I hope that was straightforward. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. We do have a couple other ones like that in the quiz, so you'll get to practice that again. Next question says, Kevin is 8 years less than twice Natalie's age. Their sum of their ages is 40. How old is Kevin? So, Kevin is 8 less than twice Natalie's age. So twice Natalie's age minus 8. Whenever we see less than, we're going to put minus whatever it is afterwards. A lot of people do 8 minus 2, and that's incorrect. We're minus 8, okay? And the sum of their ages is 40. So Kevin plus Natalie equals 40. Okay, so now what I can do is the same thing. I can replace k with 2n minus 8 because I know k is equal to that. So here, I'm going to replace this, and I'm going to rewrite this. 2n minus 8, and I'm going to keep going. Plus n equals 40. I'm going to combine like terms. 2n plus n. 3n minus 8 equals 40. I'm going to do plus 8, so I can isolate the n. 3n equals 48. And I'm going to divide by 3, and I get 3 goes into 4 one time. 3 goes into 18 6 times, so I get 16. Now, what is the question asking me for? It's asking me for how old Kevin is, not Natalie. So now I have to figure out Kevin's age. So I'm going to do the k plus n equals 40. So this is k plus 16 equals 40, minus 16, and I get k equals 24. And there goes my answer. Okay, awesome. Let's go ahead and keep going. Next question. It says the sum of two unknown numbers is 44. If one number is 2 more than twice the other number, what is the difference between the two numbers? All right. So sum of two unknown numbers is 44. So x plus y equals 44. One number is 2 more than twice the other. So one number is 2 more than twice the other. So twice the other plus 2. Okay? Now that's how I get my two equations. Now the question is asking me what is the difference between the two numbers. That means I have to solve for both of them and then subtract it. When it says difference between something, that means I have to subtract them. Okay? So I'm going to replace this over here, and this becomes 2y plus 2 plus y equals 44. So 2y plus y is 3y plus 2 equals 44. I'm going to do minus 2 minus 2, 3y equals 42, and I'm going to divide. And that gives me 14. Okay, so y equals 14. And I also need to find x. So x plus y is 14. Sorry, 44. So x plus 14 equals 44. So when I subtract 14 from each side, I get x equals 30. Okay? Now, remember, I'm looking for the difference between the two numbers. So now I have to do 30 minus 14, and that gives me 16. And that's my answer. Okay? All right. I hope that was helpful. Let's keep going. All right. Oops. Okay, there we go. So it says, the length of a rectangle is 8 inches more than twice its width. So let's start just writing our equation. Length is 8 inches more than twice its width. So twice its width plus 8. Next sentence says, if the perimeter of the rectangle is 58 inches, what is the width of the rectangle? Okay, so it doesn't give me anything else aside from perimeter is this. But guess what? We know perimeter. Perimeter is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. That's the equation for perimeter. And it's telling us that this is equal to 58. So that's how we get our two equations, okay? Now we know we're looking for the width. All right, so here, because I have L equals this, I can replace or substitute the L in my second equation. So I'm going to do 2 times 2w plus 8 plus 2w equals 58. All right, I'm going to distribute this 2. 2 times 2w is 4w. 2 times 8 is 16 plus 2w equals 58. 4w plus 2w is 6w. I'm going to minus 16. That gives me 42. 6w equals 42. So I divide it by 6 and I get w equals 7. And that's exactly what I'm looking for, so that is my correct answer. Okay, so this one was tricky because it didn't give you the words for the second equation. You just have to remember that perimeter is this equation right here, okay? All right, let's keep going. All right, it says, an unknown number is divided by 3, multiplied by 4, and increased by 22. The result is 42. So we did a question similar to this a little while ago. If you want to pause and try this question on your own, now's a great time to do that. If not, or when you're ready, we'll go ahead and review it together. So an unknown number, so x, is divided by 3. So divided by 3, multiplied by 4, and increased by 22. The result is 42. Okay, so I'm going to do minus 22, because I want to simplify this, right? I get 4 times x over 3 equals 20. And you divide by 4, x over 3 equals 5. Now here, x over 3, I'm going to multiply by 3 to cancel this this fractional, and I get x equals 15. And there we go. That's it. All right, let's keep going. Next question. So Jane and Sylvia work as tutors at $25 and $28 per hour, respectively. When we see this, respectively, we know that this means Jane is earning 25 and Sylvia is earning 28. And we know that because it's just the order that the words, the order of the names is the same as the order of the numbers, okay? So one month, Jane worked 10 hours more than Sylvia. If their total income for the month was $3,430, how many hours did Jane work during the month? So these kinds of questions are kind of tricky because in reality, we're looking for hours, and our unknown is hours, okay? So when we have a variable for this, it's representing hours. All right, so we're actually going to skip the first one for a second, and we're going to go straight to the second sentence, where it says 1 month, Jane worked 10 hours more than Sylvia. So Jane is Sylvia plus 10, okay? And then we go to the third sentence, where it says their total income for the month was $3,430. That means that whatever hours Jane worked for the month plus whatever hours Sylvia worked for the month, that we have to multiply by how much they earned per hour, okay? So it would be 25 times whatever hours Jane worked, and 28 times whatever hours Sylvia worked. And that will give us $3,430, okay? So that's how we use the first sentence. The first sentence is not an equation for questions like this. That first sentence is just telling us how much each one contributes, okay? Or how much each one, the value of it. So now that I have this, I can replace this over here. And that's what I'm going to do. 25 times s plus 10, because that's the value of j, plus 28s equals 3,430. So 25 times s is 25s. And then 25 times 10 is 250. Plus 28s equals 3,430. So 25 plus 28 is 53s. Plus 250 equals 3,430. So minus 250, minus 250. You got 13 minus 5 is 8. 13 minus 5 is 8. 3 minus 2 is 1. 3 minus 0 is 3. So 53s equals 3,180. Now I have to divide by 53. So let's do that. 3,180 divided by 53. So 53 goes into 31 it can't. So that's going to be 318. So if I kind of round to 53 to 50, I know it's going to be about 6. So let me try 53 times 6. So that's 8, carry the 1. 6 times 5 is 30, plus 1 is 31. So it's actually exactly 6. So 318. But I still have to bring down the 0, so it becomes 60. Okay? So that tells me that S is equal to 60. Or with Sylvia work, the hours that Sylvia works are equal to 60. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for Jane, because it says how many hours did Jane work during the month. So we're going to use this equation up here. Jane is Sylvia, which is 60, plus 10. So that is 70. Okay? So these kinds of questions are challenging. I believe we have another one that's similar to it within this quiz. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that one also. But if you have questions, always feel free to leave a comment below. Okay? All right, let's keep going. Okay, next question says, an unknown number is doubled, reduced by 8, and divided by 2. The result is 20. So this one's pretty easy. An unknown number is doubled, so we multiply it by 2, reduced by 8, and then divided by 2. The result is 20. With this one, make sure that when we do divided by 2, we divide the whole thing by 2, okay? So here I'm going to multiply by 2 to get rid of this fraction. 2x minus 8 equals 40. I'm going to add 8, so I can cancel this out. 2x equals 48. And I'm going to divide by 2 to isolate the x, and I get x equals 24. Okay, that was an easy one. Let's go ahead and move on. All right. Okay, next question. It says, the sum of two numbers is 57, so x plus y equals 57. One number is 3 more than the other. What are the two numbers? Okay, so we can replace, once again here, y plus 3 plus y equals 57. If you notice, we replace this x in here with y plus 3. And then I can combine like terms, 2y plus 3 equals 57. Minus 3 minus 3, 2y equals 54. And I divide it by 2. 54 divided by 2 gives me 27. So y is 27, and I'm looking for the other one. I'm going to use this equation. I think it's going to be the easiest. X equals y, 27, plus 3, which is just 30. And there we go. Okay, I hope you got it. Let's keep going. Okay, so this one says, the length of a rectangle is 4 inches more than twice its width. So this is just like that other perimeter question we did. If you want to hit pause and try this one after looking at that other explanation, this is a great time to do it. When you're ready, let's just go ahead and do it. So the length of a rectangle is 4 inches more. Length is 4 inches more than twice its width. So twice its width plus 4. If the perimeter, we know perimeter, 2L plus 2W, is, and it tells us 38, it's right there, okay? It's asking us what is the length of the rectangle. So I'm actually going to replace this here. I'm going to replace the L with 2W plus 4. And I got 4W plus 8 plus 2W equals 38. So 6W plus 8 equals 38, because I combined 4W and 2W. I'm going to do minus 8, and I'm left with 6W equals 30. So I'm going to divide, let me move this a little bit. I'm going to divide by 6, I get W equals 5. So now I'm going to replace this over here, because remember, I'm looking for the length. So length equals 2 times 5 plus 4. So 2 times 5 is 10, plus 4 is 14. Okay, that's it. Let's keep going. We're on a roll here. And, oh, it seems like that's it. Let me just double check. Yeah. All right, that's it for our quiz. I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, just leave me a comment below, and I'll be more than happy to help. Hi. All right, so I'm here to explain how to do this quiz. So ratios has been a pretty difficult topic for a lot of people. So I kind of want to explain it in a different way. I explained it in the videos above, or in the video above, but I want to go over it again. So with ratios, we're essentially saying that something is compared to something else. So there could be, let's say, a box. Okay, and in this box, we have a bunch of marbles. And these marbles are different colors. So some of the marbles are red, and some of them are white. Let's say that in total, there are 30. Which means, in total there are 30. Out of those 30, 10 of them are red, 20 of them are white. So this is a part of the marbles, a part of the marbles, and the whole marbles. Okay, so if we were to compare a ratio is going to be the simplest form of this comparison. So let's say I ask you, how many red marbles are there to white marbles? I'm asking you to compare the 10 red to the 20 white. We are comparing a part to a part. And then let's say I ask you to compare the 20 white, or the white, to the total. This is a part to the whole. The important thing to remember here is that if there's 10 red and 20 white, if I want to get the whole, I just add them. 10 plus 20. And that gives me the whole. That gives me the total. Now this is super important. Ratios are not just the whole or the complete part or the actual part compared to the actual part. No, they're actually the most simplified form. So here, 10 to 20, we're going to divide by 10 because both sides of this can be divided by 10. 10 divided by 10 is 1. 20 divided by 10 is 2. So the ratio is 1 red for every 2 white. That means that when we take out 3 marbles, 1 of them will be red and 2 of them will be white. Okay? Here, we would do the same thing. 20 to 30 divided by 10 divided by 10. This is 2 to 3. For every 2 white marbles, there are 3 marbles in total. Okay? Okay, so now that I explained that, let's take a look at what this looks like in questions. So I'm going to make some space here. This might not make too much sense yet, but I just wanted you to understand how ratios work, okay? So here we go. Number 1 says, there's an audience of 200 people at an outdoor concert. 90 of those people are children. What is the proportion or the ratio of adults to the audience? So here we have audience of 200. This is our total. 90 of those are children. So we have children. Some other part of them are adults. And the total is 200. What is the proportion of adults to the audience? So we want to do adults to audience. How do we get adults? Remember what I told you earlier. This part plus this part will give us our total. So we just subtract 200 minus 90. And we borrow. Oh. Let's try that again. 200 minus 90. Sorry about that. 0 minus 0 is 0. 10 minus 9 is 1. 1 minus 0 is 1. So that's 110 adults to 200 total people. First, let's divide by 10 to get rid of a 0. 11 to 20. Can we divide it by anything else? No, that's its simplest form, and that is our answer. So this was just practice in writing a ratio, okay? And understanding that part plus part equals total. Now let's get into the real nitty-gritty of ratios. This is a tough question, so we're going to go step by step. A man dies, and his life insurance payout is $500,000. He listed his wife and son and his beneficiaries as in a 7 to 3 ratio of his wife's share to son's share. So 7 goes to the wife, 3 goes to the son. How much will his son receive from the life insurance payout? So this is a part of the money and another part of the money. How do we get the whole? Well, it's simple. We just add them. 7 plus 3 equals 10. So this is our total. Okay, now what we're going to do with the ratios is we're going to plug it into our fraction. Why are we going to do that? Because it's going to simplify our ratios. Okay? What is the question asking me for? How much the son will receive. Okay? So what does it give me? It asks for the son. Actual. It gives me the son's part. It gives me the 500,000 total. So this is son and son. This is actual. What do I need? The 10 total. Because I need to be able to compare son, son, total, total. Okay? So 3 of the son out of 10 total. So this is my ratio right here. Is being compared to the actual situation where there's $500,000 in total. How much of that goes to the son? Okay? Now I'm going to cross multiply. 10 times x is 10x. 3 times 500,000. 1, 2. So wait, 3 times 0 is 0. 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 3 times 5, 15. There we go. It's 1,500,000. Now I'm going to divide it by 10. So I can isolate the x. And guess what? I can eliminate a 0. So 1, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. Sorry. That's $150,000. That's what the son gets. So ratios, once again, we're using our 2 fractions equal to each other. Why? Because then it makes it easy to know what to do with the information. So we're going to use our ratio as information to compare all the different components of the question and figure out where they go on our equation. So let's try the next one so we can practice. This one says, there were 220 students at an assembly. The ratio of boys to girls was 3 to 2. How many boys were there in the assembly? There's 3 boys, 2 girls. If I add them up, this gives me 5 total. It's asking me for boys, and it's saying there's 220 total students. Which means in my equation, I'm going to compare boys to boys, because that's going to give me what I'm looking for. And I'm not going to use girls, I'm going to use the total. Okay? Because it gives me the total. If it gave me the number of girls, then I would use the girls in the ratio. But because it's not giving me the number of girls, it's giving me the total, I'm going to use the total in the ratio. So I'm going to say 3 boys, I'm going to set up my ratio first, out of 5 total, equals x boys, because we don't know how many there actually are, out of 220 total. So let's cross multiply. 5 times x, 5x. 220 times 3, 3 times 0 is 0, 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 2 is 6. So 5x equals 660. I'm going to divide it by 5 on both sides, so I can get x by itself. And now let's do 660 divided by 5. 5 goes into 6 one time, 6 minus 5 is 1. 5 goes into 16 3 times. 5 times 3 is 15. 16 minus 15 is 1. Bring down the 0. 5 goes into 10 2 times. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 minus 10 is 0. X equals 132 boys. Okay, there we go. Once again, we use boys, girls, total in our ratio to be able to put this into our equation later on, okay? So now that we've done that, let me make some space. Now that we've done that, let's look at number 4. Number 4 says, the ratio of boys to girls in the classroom is 3 to 5. If there are a total of 24 boys in the classroom, then how many boys and girls are there altogether? Okay, so ratio of boys to girls, 3 to 5. 3 boys, 5 girls, 8 total. So my ratio is set up, okay? How many boys and girls are there together? It gives me 24 boys, so obviously we're going to use the boys and the boys. And then it says, how many are all there together? So it's asking about the total, which means I'm going to use the total to be able to find my answer. So let's set it up. 3 boys, 8 total, equals 24 boys, x total. 3 times x, 3x. 24 times 8, let's solve it. 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 3 is 19. And now I'm going to divide by 3 on both sides. 3 goes into 19 6 times. 3 times 6, 18. 3 goes into 12 4 times. 3 times 4 is 12. And there's nothing else to bring down. X equals 64 students in total. Okay, I hope that made sense. I'm going to make some space so we can move on to the next one. Next question says, there are both potatoes and carrots in a large pot of soup. The ratio of potatoes and carrots in the soup is 2 to 5. If there are 48 potatoes, how many carrots are there? 2 potatoes, 5 carrots, 7 total. It gives me potatoes, so obviously I'm going to use potatoes, and it asks for carrots, so I'm going to use carrots. 2 potatoes to 5 carrots is equal to potatoes on top, 48 potatoes, x carrots. The ratio is what I use for my first fraction, and then the rest of it for the second fraction. Now let's cross multiply. 2 times x is 2x. 5 times 48, let's find the answer up here. 8 times 5 is 40, carry the 4. 4 times 5 is 20, plus 4 is 24. 240. Now I divide by 2 to be able to isolate the x. 240 divided by 2. 2 goes into 2 one time. 2 times 2 is 2. Sorry, 2 times 1 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. We're going to bring down the 4. 2 goes into 4 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. 2 goes into 0 is, 0 times. And nothing else to bring down, nothing left over. X equals 120. There we go. Okay, I hope this is making more sense to you. We're going to keep going. Okay, since we've done a couple of them, I want to encourage you to hit pause and try question number 6 on your own before you watch the explanation. When you're ready, I'm going to go ahead and explain it. It says, in a room there are iPhone users and Samsung users. The ratio of iPhone users to Samsung users is 3 to 5. So 3 iPhone, 5 Samsung. If there are a total of 21 iPhone users, how many Samsungs are there? Okay, if we add this, it gives us 8 total, but it looks like we're not going to use the total for this one because it's iPhone, iPhone, Samsung, Samsung. So 3 iPhone in my ratio compared to 5 Samsung in my ratio is equal to 21 iPhones in my actual over x Samsungs. Now that I've done that, I can cross multiply. 3 times x is 3x. 21 times 5. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. So 3x equals 105. Now I'm going to divide by 3 to be able to isolate the x. 3 goes into 10 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. 10 minus 9 is 1. I bring down the 5. 3 goes into 15 5 times. 3 times 5 is 15. 15 minus 15 is 0. X equals 35 Samsung users. Okay, I hope you got it right when you gave it a try. If you did, when you're ready, I'm going to move on to number 7. Okay, number 7 says, the ratio of green bags to red bags is 7 to 3. If there are a total of 21 green bags, then how many red bags are there? So it says ratio green to red, 7 to 3. So 7 is green. Notice that it goes in the order of the words. 3 red. Green was first, so the first number is green. Red was second, so the second number is green. Okay? If there are a total of 21 green bags, so 21 green, I'm definitely going to use these two. How many red bags are there? X red. We don't know the number of red. We can add these and get a 10 total, but we're not going to use our total because we're comparing the green and the red only. So now the first fraction, remember, has our ratio in it. 7 green, 3 red. And then our second fraction is comparing it. So 21 green, we have to match green with green, and x red. Red with red. Now that we've done that, let's cross multiply. 7 times x is 7x. And 21 times 3, we're going to solve now. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 7x equals 63. Divided by 7. 63 divided by 7 is 9. There are 9 red bags. Okay, I hope you got it. Okay, so let's go ahead and do number 8. It says, there are both sports cars and vans on a dealer's car lot. The ratio of vans to sports cars is 4 to 9. If there are a total of 24 vans, how many cars and vans are in the lot in total? So it tells us ratio vans to sports cars. Remember, the first word belongs to the first number. So vans is 4. Second word, second number, 9 is to sports cars. If we wanted to, we can add them up and get 13 for our total. Now, if there are a total of 24 vans, so it actually shows us another part, 24 vans. How many cars and vans are in the lot in total? It's asking us for total. So we're not going to use sports cars. We're going to focus on vans and total. So the first fraction is our ratio. 4 vans to 13 total. And this is equal to 24 vans. And we're going to put x total over here because we don't know what it is. 4 times x is 4x. 24 times 13. 3 times 4 is 12. carry the 1. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Placeholder 0. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 2 is 2. Now we add them up. 2, 11, carry the 1, 312. Now we're going to divide by 4 on both sides so we can isolate the x. X equals, let's do 312 divided by 4. So 4 can't go into 3, but 4 can go into 31 7 times. 4 times 7 is 28. 31 minus 28 is 3. Let's break down the 2. 4 goes into 32 8 times. 4 times 8 is 32. 32 minus 32 is 0. So our answer is 78. Sports cars in advance. Okay? All right, I'm going to keep going. It says, the ratio of yellow ribbons to blue ribbons is 3 to 8. If there are a total of 64 blue ribbons, then how many yellow ribbons are there? We've done a question like this before. If you want to hit pause and give this question a try before looking at the explanation, I welcome you to do it. When you're ready, let's go ahead and do it together. So it says, ratio, yellow ribbons to blue ribbons is 3 to 8. So 3 is yellow, 8 is blue. And if I add them together, I get 11 total. What else does it give me? Oh, it gives me 64 blue. Okay, so that means we're definitely going to use our blue. And what is it asking for? Yellow ribbons. So we're going to use our yellow also. So our first fraction is from our ratio. 3 yellow is to 8 blue. I don't know how many yellows, but I do know there are 64 blues. Okay, so now let's cross multiply. 8 times x is 8x. And 64 times 3, we're going to solve it here real quick. 3 times 4 is 12, carry the 1. 3 times 6 is 18, plus 1 is 19. So 8x is 192. And now we're going to divide this by 8. 8 goes into 19 2 times. 8 times 2 is 16. 19 minus 16 is 3. We're going to bring down the 2. 8 goes into 32 4 times. 8 times 4 is 32. 32 minus 32 is 0. So x equals 24. There are 24 yellow ribbons. I hope you got that. When you're ready, let's move on. Okay, so number 10, it says, the volume of water in 2 containers is in the ratio of 5 to 7. If the volume of the first container is 25 liters, what is the volume of the second container? So let's do 5 to 7. 5 is container 1, 7 is container 2, and 12 is our total. Okay, it gives us container 1 at 25 liters. And it asks us the second container. So we'll actually be using this. Okay, because we don't know how much is in container 2. So let's set up our fractions. 5 container 1, remember our first fraction is from our ratio. So 5 is to container 1, 7 is to container 2. 25 container 1, and we don't know what's in container 2. Now let's cross multiply. 5 times x is 5x. 25 times 7, let's figure it out. 7 times 5 is 35, carry the 3. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 3 is 17. So now let's set up, we're dividing by 5, I want to remind you, so we can isolate the x. So I was setting up our division problem. So 5 goes into 17 3 times. 5 times 3 is 15. 17 minus 15 is 2. Break down the 5. 5 goes into 25 5 times. 5 times 5 is 25. 25 minus 25 is 0. There's nothing else to break down. X equals 35 liters. Okay, looking good so far. I'm going to erase this to make some space for our next question. And our next question says, Jesse, Lewis, and Chris got paid a total of $210 for mowing neighborhood lawns. They split the money in the ratio of 1 to 2 to 4. So Jesse, Lewis, Chris, 1 to 2 to 4. How much less did Jesse make than Chris? Wow, this is very different, so I'm going to go step by step, okay? First of all, let's take our ratio and let's break it down so we know who gets what. Jesse is first, Lewis is second, Chris is last, okay? So that's who gets the numbers here. When we add it up, 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 4 is 7 out of the total, okay? So it's asking us, it gives us $210 actually for our total, okay? And it doesn't tell us any of these other ones, but it does ask us to tell the difference between Jesse and Chris. Well, how much less did Jesse make than Chris? Which means we have to subtract Chris and Jesse, so Jesse from Chris. It'll make sense in a second. But that means that we need to solve for J and we need to solve for Chris, for C. So we're going to use our ratio. First I'm going to solve for Jesse. So 1 Jesse out of 7 total. Why am I using the total? Because that's the only given that I have aside from the ratio. So this is going to be 210 total. And I'm going to solve for Jesse. Okay, so 7 times x is 7x. 1 times 210 is 210. So 7 goes into 21 3 times. I just want to remind you, I'm dividing by 7 to isolate the x. So 7 goes into 21 3 times. 7 times 3 is 21. 21 minus 21 is 0. But I still have another 0 to bring down. So 7 goes into 0 0 times. And now I'm done. So how much did Jesse make? $30. How much did Chris make? Let's set it up. Chris is 4 out of the 7 total. We don't know how much he made, but we do know that the total is still 210. So I'm going to erase this and make some space. And I'm going to move this over here so that I don't forget. So now 7 times x is 7x. And 210 times 4 is 0, 4, 8. 840. I'm going to divide by 7 on both sides so I can isolate the x. 840 divided by 7. 7 goes into 8 one time. 7 times 1 is 7. 8 minus 7 is 1. Bring down the 4. 7 goes into 14 2 times. 7 times 2 is 14. 0. We still got to bring down that 0. 7 goes into 0 0 times. So x is equal to 120. That's how much Chris makes. Let me move this so it's next to Jesse. So now that we have this information, what does the question ask us for? The question says, how much less did Jesse make than Chris? I have to subtract them. 0 minus 0 is 0. 12 minus 3 is 9. Jesse makes $90 less than Chris. Okay? So when we see ratios that have 3 compared like this, don't worry, it's not a big deal. You just have to do it twice, okay? So I'm going to erase to make some space. And I'm going to move down to number 12. So number 12 says, a school's uniform policy requires students to wear either a green or blue uniform shirt. In a given classroom, the ratio of students wearing a blue uniform shirt to the total class is 3 to 5. So here it's giving us a different kind of ratio. If there are 16 students who wear a green uniform shirt, how many students are in the class? So let's start with our ratio, 3 to 5. 3 represents blue, 5 represents the total. Okay, what do we know about the parts and the total? The parts add up to the total, right? So blank plus 3 equals 5. Well, what plus 3 equals 5? 2. That's how we complete our ratio. 2 plus 3 equals 5. That means there's 2 green for every 3 blue, and there's 5 total. Okay, now what else does the question tell us? 16 students wear a green uniform, 16 green. How many students are in the class? So how many is the total? So we're going to use green, green, total, total. We're not using blue for this one. Let's set up in our fraction. 2 green is to 5 total is equal to 16 green over x total. So let's cross multiply. 2 times x is 2x. 16 times 5, let's solve it. 5 times 6 is 30, carry the 3. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 3 is 8. So 2x equals 80. I divide it by 2 and I get x equals 40 students. Awesome. Let's move on to number 13. Number 13 says, a company purchases desktop and laptop computers. If the order was placed for $798 and has a ratio of 2 let me start over. I read that one. A company purchases desktop and laptop computers. If the order placed was for 798 computers, not dollars, computers, and has a ratio of 2 desktop computers to 5 laptop computers, how many laptops are in the total order? So 2 desktops, I'm going to call it desk, to 5 laptops. I want to see the total, so that's going to be 2 plus 5 is 7. What else does this give me? It gives me 798 total computers. And what does it ask me for? The laptops. Which means I'm using laptops and totals. First fraction is going to have our ratio. 5 laptops to 7 total is equal to x laptops, 798 total. Let's cross multiply. 7 times x is 7x. 798 times 5, we have to figure it out. 5 times 8 is 40, carry the 4. 5 times 9 is 45, plus 5 is 49. Carry another 4. 5 times 7 is 35, plus 4 is 39. So 7x equals 3990. Now let's divide by 7 so we can isolate the x. So 7 into 3990. 7 goes into 39. Well, 7 times 5 is 35. And 7 times 6 is 42. 42 is too big, so we're going to stick with 35. So 7 times 5, 35. 39 minus 35 is 4. Bring down the 9. 7 goes into 49 7 times. 7 times 7 is 49. 49 minus 49 is 0. But we're not done. We still have a 0 to bring down. 7 goes into 0 0 times. 7 times 0 0. And now we're done. 570 laptops. Awesome. Now we're going to do number 14. Bob, Ben, and Boris order pepperoni pizza to share. If the pizza has 10 slices and they share the pizza in a 1 to 2 to 2 ratio, how many more slices of pizza will Boris eat than Bob? Okay, so Bob, Ben, Boris. 1, 2, 2. Bob, Ben, Boris. And our total, 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 2 is 5, is our total. What else did it tell us? It tells us that the pizza has 10 slices. That's a total. 10 slices. Okay? Total. And it asks us how many more slices of pizza will Boris eat than Bob. So we have to find Bob and Boris. Let's do one at a time. So 1 Bob out of 5 total is x Bob out of 10 total. 5 times x is 5x. 1 times 10 is 10. We divide by 5. X equals 2 slices of pizza for Bob. Now let's find Boris. 2 Boris is out of 5 total equals x Boris out of 10 total. Okay, 5 times x is 5x. 2 times 10 is 20. We're going to divide by 5 on both sides to be able to isolate the x. And x equals 4 slices for Boris. Boris was hungry. So what's the difference, or how many more slices? 4 minus 2 is 2. Okay, so let's take a look at number 15. Number 15 is just like our last question. So if you want to hit pause right now and try this question, I highly encourage it. You want to try it on your own. It's not the same to look at me doing the question. You don't learn it as well as you do by practicing. So I encourage you to hit pause, give it a try. When you're ready, I'll explain it. So it says, Andrea, Jocelyn, and Tamara decide to share a bag of chocolate in a 1 to 2 to 4 ratio. If there are 91 chocolates in the bag, how many chocolates did Jocelyn eat? So 1, 2, 4, Andrea, Jocelyn, Tamara. What is my total? 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 4 is 7 total. What does the question give me? What else does it give me? 91 chocolates in the bag. So that's 91 total. Okay, and it's asking me for the number of chocolates Jocelyn eats. So we're going to call Jocelyn's chocolates X. So now that we have this information, we're going to use Jocelyn total. Let's set up our equation. Our first fraction is our ratio. And this is equal to an unknown number of chocolates that Jocelyn eats over 91 total chocolates. So now I cross multiply. 7 times x is 7x. 2 times 91, let's work it out here. 2, 18. Now I'm going to divide by 7. 7 goes into 18 2 times. 7 times 2 is 14. 18 minus 14 is 4. I bring down the 2. 7 goes into 42 6 times. 7 times 6 is 42. I have nothing else to bring down. So x equals 26 chocolates. Excellent. I hope you got it. Remember, if you have any questions about any of these, just leave a question in the comments below. Okay, good luck.